What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 243. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, and it is another fine Sunday morning here to talk about gaming. I am joined, of course, by the man, the myth, the legend, and I'm going to say it ahead of time, Mr. Tie Guy Travis McClunky.
McClunky. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday.
You finally, like, a couple months ago, just told us what that means, and I've completely forgotten. I don't have a clue.
It's the Greedo thing, man.
Greedo thing.
I know it has to do with that, but I forget like the story behind it.
Well, the only thing you need to know is that it means this will be the end for you. So you're threatening my life each and every time you say it. And I for one.
So every time I start this show, you're threatening my life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
excellent.
That's not it. Yeah, so, there you go.
Although we were held up a little bit. Actually, we'll get to that. We'll get to
that.
And joining us from a new computer this morning, he's experimenting. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Rodriguez, with one of the OG SG shirts there.
That's right, baby.
One of our originals.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw that on. Yeah, coming to you live from the CVS pharmacy here in Olathe. So don't worry about all this stuff. It's all legal. People come to me.
We are on the Kansas side of the border. So
yeah, we are. Yeah, that stuff is actually back there. I think the Missouri side is behind one of my other pictures. Can't have that here. That would probably get us in trouble.
So Rob says we were held up a little bit, as if that isn't the case every week. Just schedule it for 11:10, because if we schedule it for 11:10, we won't start till 11:20. It's just it's the way we do things around here. So we were held up a little bit this morning, and I'm going to put Travis on blast immediately. Travis he's going to see John Wick 4 later tonight, and I was saying it's amazing, but it's definitely more over the top than the first three, as if the first three weren't over the top, because they were, but 4 takes it to an entirely new level. He proposes, because I started making fun of Fast and Furious, which is by decree what I am required to do every week, that John Wick is just as over the top as Fast and Furious. And I said, 100%. That is a ridiculous statement, sir. And so we debated about that for a few minutes.
Yeah, you're insane. Anybody who thinks that John Wick is anywhere near tethered in reality has a basic misunderstanding of physics,
that wasn't the
biology.
That wasn't the argument.
No, the argument. The argument's insane, because the only difference between John Wick and Fast and Furious is Fast and Furious has 10 movies and John Wick has 4. They are the exact same model in terms of...
I wouldn't call them movies.
Okay. No. Yeah, well, that's because you haven't seen them, because you don't know what you're talking about, Ains. So that's the only difference between you and me.
Is already laughing at you.
The only difference between you and me is that I've done my homework and that you don't know what you're talking about. But trust me.
Homework might be a good way to describe it.
When John Wick 9 comes out, if you don't think they're going to be in space, you don't know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
So you are saying that because there's 10 movies, they've gotten more ridiculous, and they're to the point.
My argument was that they follow the exact same model, which is that they start with something that's very familiar, a genre of movie and a type of story that's very familiar, and then they build on it anime style using power creep and insane.
I like that you've now resorted to just saying anime to describe Fast and Furious movies.
That's how the creators. That's how the creators of Fast and Furious describe it. Another thing, not an anime. It's a live action anime. It's the first of its kind. It's building something new. You don't know what you're talking about, Ains. It's so hilarious. It's so hilarious. And so we're late because Ains is ignorant.
So what the hell is Tokyo Drift then? Is that just...
Drift was the first movie Justin Lin directed, and he is a huge fan of anime, which is why he set out to make a live-action anime out of the Fast and Furious franchise. And if you watch that movie, you can see the inspiration there. Okay?
That's
and John Wick is literally looking at the Fast and Furious model and going, that worked. People like power creep. People like building a universe that steadily gets more and more crazy. And the fact that you don't think they're on that exact same trajectory, you're insane. You're kidding yourself, bro. That's all I have to say. Do your homework.
Yeah. Not as much family, obviously, in John Wick, but
there's dogs. It's kind of the same.
Well, Fast and Furious, the original, right? It attempted to be grounded. There are elements of reality there of street racing in it. The racing was a total joke, but it was trying to be the car kind of guy racing.
The physics is a total joke. The biology is a total joke in John Wick, but one is at least grounded in reality. Yeah, it's the same exact thing, man. That's my point. It's the same model. It's the same shit. I swear to you. You just movies.
Oh boy.
This is total ignorance. That's all.
Anyway, this began because I said before John Wick 4 is the latest trailer for Fast X, and literally as it's playing and it's showing cars flying through space and all the stupidity that exists in those movies, my wife looks over at me laughing, like literally laughing out loud, because she knows how much it drives me crazy seeing this supposed car franchise be so ridiculous. But it's funny.
See, I didn't get that trailer. I got like a one with like some guy in like Iceland or something that's like walking around. He finds some gold, and then
the Nazi hunter.
The Nazi hunter. Oh my god, that looks amazing.
That looks good. Yeah,
that looks so good. Yeah, I was just like, oh, this
Nazi
is Nazi
hunter.
awesome.
You say? I'm
yes.
Interested.
Oh, the movie looks amazing. I forget the name of it. Someone tell us the name of it, but it looks great.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but it's some kind of. It was awesome. I don't even know.
Killing Nazis always fun.
Yeah.
Always fun.
Amazing.
All right. We're going to be talking about games today, believe it or not. So we've got we're going to be talking about E3 obviously being canceled and kind of some things to do with that. We got some new releases. We've got a Bloomberg report about PSVR2. We've got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom presentation this week and a couple other topics to get through, of course. But first, I have a surprise for you guys.
All right.
So,
boy,
yeah,
bear with me. Bear with me. I already told you. All right. So bear with me here. I'll be back in like 10 seconds, if that. All right. I got to turn my camera off for a second. So hold on, because Hoeg's not here, but I've been waiting for this because we had some laughs about it. So just hold on. Hold on.
I wonder if he got like a Hogue mask.
Last time somebody Ains's age said they had a surprise for me, it was my dad leaving. So
I don't know why I'm laughing at
that. Yeah, call me a little scared, but I just think Ains is never gonna come back. That's what I think is gonna happen.
Oh, I was right.
God.
I was right.
It's here. It's finally here. I've been waiting.
I thought I literally called it. I thought that you got that like 3 weeks ago. It's so bad. It's so bad. It is the Fast and Furious of masks. I mean, that's basically what that is. What in the hell, man? What are you doing? You can't even get it off? You can't even hear us. So that's even better.
Hear us. He told us that.
Yeah, that's true. That's terrible. That's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
I told you I couldn't hear you while I was doing that, obviously.
Yeah.
So
it's terrible.
It finally came. It's awesome. I love it.
I really thought you got it a long time ago.
No, it was delayed because it came from Limited Run Games, not EA directly. So it came with some cool stuff though. It's a nice CE, but I knew you guys would get a laugh at that because I think for the people on Hoeg's side of the channel, when we talked about this last year, all three of these guys said that thing is the ugliest thing they've ever seen. And they couldn't believe that I was ordering it, but they gave me a lot of shit about it. So
hard same. It's terrible. Yeah, it's a really ugly helmet. I'm sorry. I love you.
It's from the game. Of course it's ugly. It's like a makeshift mining helmet.
But couldn't they like do some like I don't know, like some airbrushing, make it look a little more like war torn or
well, it's hard to see on the camera. It does have like scratches all over it, and some of it looks like the paint's kind of worn off and stuff.
Yeah, that might have been from shipping. I mean, it looks so nice and shiny. It just doesn't get this.
So people are asking what it is. That is that's Isaac's helmet from Dead Space. It's a horror video game classic franchise. The remake came out in January, and it's the first time that I'm aware of anyway that they've offered a one-to-one, basically a cosplay helmet, if you will, for Isaac. So for collector idiots like myself, I had to get it. I have a whole bunch of like one-to-one helmets from all the different games, so had to get it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Not
I wish Hoeg was here. I wanted to wait, but I don't know when Hoeg's going to be here, so I'll just make sure to clip that out and send it to him so he can have a good laugh.
He sure missed out.
Yeah, he sure. Yeah. He's like, I think I got therapy or something. I got to go to. Sorry, guys. I gotta get out of here.
All right. So had to get that out of the way. So let's go ahead and jump in. So we'll talk about what we've currently been playing before we get to super chats, of course, and things like that. But so last night, I, on my word, by the way, streamed Romancevania. It was it's something. I'll say that.
I tried to check it out on Twitch. I was in the middle of something and was very rudely opening up my phone and like looking to see what you were up to. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I know you're busy on Saturday nights. I tried to do it earlier in the week, but the week just got away from me. So I we had some good laughs. A few of the people who watch Bitcast swung by and kind of laughed with us. We finished episode 1 last night, which is like how it works, right? Travis has described it well. You're Dracula. You're on a dating show in the future and in like modern times. And I went through the 3 cast characters and met and talked to them and flirted with them. And then went on my date and whatever. And then you have to vote off one of the 3. You have to pick someone. So I voted off
I assume
Brostopher is just annoying. I can't take him. He seems like a Fast and Furious cast member. You know what I mean? So I voted
he's
him out
actually
of here.
Jersey Shore is what he's supposed to be. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. Come on, that's so different though. There's no Guidos in Fast and Furious. Get out of here.
What?
Brostopher has to go. I was happy to see in the comments some thirsting for the genie, which there's
Tess is all right.
Yeah, she's all right.
Yeah,
Dan, I saw you were not immune to her charms. So
no, I mean that was the Puerto Rican one. So I'm all in it. Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing.
Did a good job.
But and what was it? The other one, Medusa. She had no hands.
Medusa.
So I mean, that's no good.
Well, they introduce more in later chapters, which I would say is one of the problems with the game is you don't get to see the full cast and then vote them off. You're voting them off as they introduce new characters, which seems a little weird because then there's some at the end where you know them the least and then they're kind of automatically finalists because they weren't there the whole time. It's kind of like a weird format. But yeah, you'll meet other characters. But yeah, I was very happy to see you giving it a try, and B that some people in your chat were getting into it and getting invested in what your choices were going to be. It was very, very nice. So
I wish were basically watch Ains or sit down and watch the Gilmore Girl reruns with my wife. So it was close. It was really close. So, but that was that's what I went with.
Yeah, I was saying if I that was the first stream I've done from this kind of new setup, and I was like, if I had it set up better, I could have made it so that when a choice comes up, like on how to respond, etc., I could give like a poll to the chat. So I'm gonna try to kind of move in that direction. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Honestly, we had some good laughs. We'll see what episode 2 holds. Right at the end of episode 1, the Van Helsing show up. So there's now a Van Helsing woman as part of the 3 cast members. I have not met Pumpkin Patch yet, so we'll see where that goes.
I saw you immediately laugh as soon as she showed up in the stream.
Yes,
that was great.
They did show.
I did not lie. She is as advertised. Dan, when are you going to change your profile picture to?
Oh yeah, now I can. Yep. Yeah, I'll be on that.
Her name is. Dee reminded me. My fiance reminded me that her name is PSL. Like her name is L, like Ellie, ELLE, PSL, pumpkin spice latte. Anyone? No, you guys don't know that. You guys don't know that acronym? PSL.
Is this a San Francisco thing? Because
maybe it's a California thing. Pumpkin spice latte has an acronym. PSL. Anyway,
yeah,
it's a joke. It's a pun. Anyway.
Okay. Well, as usual with these San Francisco things, we will take your word for it, good sir.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't know if this one's San Francisco. I feel like everybody talks about pumpkin spice lattes for like 2 months
they do, but
year.
I've never heard it called a PSL. Like I've never heard that drink be acronyms. But okay, all right. But yeah,
how bad
it was
is
fun.
Vania? Somebody asked. No, in the comments.
How bad is Vania? Yeah, so the game
is pretty bad.
We're good.
Yeah,
it's not great. It's not great. It's a little clunky. The level design is like you can tell they don't have that kind of big studio experience on how to guide the player right through the levels. Like I don't know where I'm going. Everything's dark. You can't see where you can jump and where you can't. So it's a little clunky, but we'll get through it. It's not overly complicated, so it's easy to play. So I did beat the first boss, which was a very ridiculous boss battle. I killed Dick.
Tongue?
No, he wasn't a boss. He's just a big enemy that made us all laugh. The first boss is named Dick. It's not that. It's just his name. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it was something.
I'm excited to see you play more of the game. Get deeper into the thirst trapping. It's very going to be
Okay.
fun.
All right.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, Tess is on something right now, so we'll see. Want to talk a little more about Resident Evil this week. So I've been playing a lot of Resident Evil 4 this week. So last week, obviously, it had just come out. You know, it was very early on. I'm late into chapter 10 now, which is I'm like 11 or 12 hours in. I think there's 16 chapters, if I remember correctly, looking at the menu screen. So I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. Really, really enjoying it. I think that, remember that I never finished the first one, so it's definitely a new experience for me. I think from a Resident Evil standpoint, it's fantastic. And I just really, really liking it. I think obviously if you like Resident Evil, it goes without saying, we talked last week about its reviews and how people were thinking of it, and it's excellent. Ashley annoys me a bit. I don't think any game has done too well the whole escort thing. I'm trying to shoot zombies and she's literally zigzagging in front of my screen, and Leon's yelling like, get down, and she's just like, standing in front of me, and I'm like, get out of my way. But other than that, it's fine. It's that aspect is fine, but the game itself is really good. But I want to propose something to you guys, because I was thinking about this while I'm playing Resident Evil 4. I'm watching the guys I like over at RKG. Shout out to RKG. I'm replaying their Village playthrough. They do playthroughs of big games. It's kind of a funny thing. And they've played all the Resident Evils, they've played all the Souls games, etc. So to me, we were talking about Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4 last week, and kind of this divergence between the survival horror roots and the action horror of RE4 and the direction that took, right? And when you reflect on the modern Resident Evil 7 and Village are kind of the same thing, which we touched on last week as well. Like 7's more grounded, in theory, to horror, and 8 is more action-based, a lot more ammo, a lot more enemies. So,
well, 7 and 8 are also complete divergence from 4, 5, and 6, which are kind of almost like their own action trilogy, like post RE3 trilogy.
Yeah, it's true too. So it's kind of been all over the place. Here's what I want to propose, because I know there's been a debate a lot of times about Resident Evil, especially with 7 and 8, around first person compared to third person. And there's a lot of kind of classic Resident Evil fans that prefer third person, and you get to see the character, et cetera, right? My argument would be, having played a lot of RE4 now, is that it doesn't fully shed its tank control roots. And it makes it, when you're in the huge action scenes, when there's like 20 guys running at you and you're trying to manage all these things, it does make it a little clunky. I think Hogue said last week, is not as good at action as it proposes to be, or you think it would be. And I would probably agree with that. My argument would be, genuinely, that if it's a Resident Evil like this, like 4, or like Village, where you're shooting a lot, fighting a lot, first person plays better. It just plays a lot better. I felt like, looking back at Village, I'm like, in those scenes, like, in Village, you go into the when you first go into the where all the werewolves are, where guys are, there's like, you have to fight like 30-40 guys in a row, right? It's just chaos. Like, that is so much more manageable in a first person perspective, where I can aim better, shoot better, and kind of just navigate the environment better without kind of trying to spin and look at my character. So I don't know, like, I don't necessarily think first person's better overall for all Resident Evils or all horror games or anything like that, but I definitely have had times in RE4 where I'm like, this would be a lot more engrossing, I guess, or intuitive if I was in first person.
Now, have you ever played like Skyrim or like Fallout 4 and just kind of in third person, like just toggle it over to try it out?
I don't like it.
Those people are weird. Yeah,
I don't like it.
It's a huge difference. I actually started playing a little bit. I don't know why. Downloaded Fallout 4, and then I toggled it over a little bit. I'm like, I would love to play it in third person because I prefer third person over first, but it just doesn't work, as well. I mean, it kind of works. It's just different when especially like you said, when you get into those battles and stuff, it's not very accurate. It's kind of all over the place. So, I mean, I'm assuming that's kind of the same thing with Resident Evil.
No, Resident Evil 4 is pretty accurate in terms of I feel like the shooting isn't the problem with that game. It's a little bit of like the tank control clunky movement is the problem, right? And it's like
Yeah.
the actual
Like
gunplay is fine. Yeah.
You can't like, the only time you can actually dodge is when someone is swinging like a big melee. It gives you a prompt to dodge. Otherwise, you can't really dodge. Your running is pretty slow, as it is in all Resident Evils. That's pretty normal.
Backing up is always a problem.
Yeah, you're moving really
hella
slow.
slowly.
Yeah, and it's just clunky in those fast where you need to be more in more control of your character. It's clunky. Like, as I was watching them play Resident Evil Village again, it was kind of refreshing my memory, and I'm like, yeah, see that part? It's just, yeah, like I said, it's so much more intuitive from a first person side. I also think genuinely that in terms of horror, I think first person scarier. I think that it removes some of your surroundings, so you don't know. Like, I'm camera cheating a lot in this game, right? I mean, everyone does it in third person games. You creep up, lean against the wall, spin the camera so you can see around it. You know what I mean? And you can kind of see what's coming, and you can gauge your distance between enemies more. It's actually why I like PUBG in third person a lot from a shooter perspective, is because it allows you some kind of like ways to engage with your environment, which sounds weird, I realize, in the argument I'm making here, but in a horror sense, when you're in first person, right, like it relies more on obviously what you can see and your senses around you, and I think they can provide kind of harder scares when you're in first person.
I think the best perspective for horror is VR.
Well,
Of course.
Yeah, I tried to play Village in VR on PS VR2. I got sick though. I couldn't do it.
Which VR?
PS VR2. Super smooth.
Really?
Yeah, it's super smooth and it looks great.
Were you physically moving, or were you doing the teleport?
I've tried both. Yeah,
really.
I'm playing another game called After the Fall, which is the same. You can move or do teleport. And I was moving in that one, and I played a full level, and I got through a full level on it. It was really good. But I still felt kind of weird afterwards.
Yeah. So moving doesn't work for me on pretty much any VR game. But if you use teleport the whole time, like I've gone through like 8 hours of Half-Life Alyx just teleporting, because you're stationary the whole time, right? You're like only kind of leaning and ducking and that sort of stuff, which I think is great. But yeah, I don't know if Resident Evil 4's like goal was to be scary. You know what I mean? Like there's not really any jump scares. It does pivot fully to like an action game, and then 5 doubles down on that, and then 6 ruins that, whether or not you like it. So I don't know if that's the goal of 4, is to be like scary. I mean, it's kind of like, yes, it's an escort quest. Probably the best escort quest, though. I can't think of a better one in again. Well, I guess maybe Last of Us, if you count that. Kind of not an escort quest.
BioShock Infinite.
Yeah, but those characters can't get killed.
Yeah.
I guess so. I don't really count that. I don't really count that as an escort quest, because Ashley can actually die, and it's like fully an escort quest. Like if you don't protect her. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's also interesting they went back to third person aims with Village.
With the DLC, yeah. So I don't know what really they're doing. I guess they're kind of experimenting or using it how they see fit. I mean, obviously they leave Village open for whatever comes next at the very end of that. So we'll see what they go from there. But I think I don't know. When they went to first person for Biohazard RE7, right? That was a big kind of topic at the time, right? It was controversial. Like, why is Resident Evil going first person? But I think it worked really well. So I don't know. I like them both. I don't have a big complaint. Like, it doesn't matter if they come out with third or first. I'm going to play it, but I just think for the action stuff, I wish I could put RE4 in first person.
Yeah, I think RE4 remaster is an interesting spot, because I feel like we've seen so much of that game, and they've not done remakes, but they've done remasters several times. Like that, there's a 360 version and stuff, and coming from the original GameCube version, I just feel like we've seen that game a lot. Whereas Resident Evil 2, we basically didn't see that game at all after it came out, and then when the remake came out, that felt like a huge leap forward. And I always felt like when they announced Resident Evil 4 remake, I was like, I don't know. Maybe that's too soon. Maybe it's going to feel kind of similar, and they definitely improve it in huge ways. But I think like if you play Resident Evil 2 and then Resident Evil 2 remake, those are basically different games. Like they are very, very different from one another. Whereas Resident Evil 4 kind of mostly feels like it's the same game with some changes and improvements, but I think that's to its detriment a little bit, like because it's more recent and only has more or less minor upgrades versus Resident Evil 2. So it's interesting, but yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying it too. Granted, I basically haven't played anymore since last week we spoke.
Yeah, I've been really engrossed in it. I'm really liking it. I also didn't realize, because again, didn't play it fully back in the day. I didn't realize how much Village takes from it. I mean, there's so many similarities to Village. I mean, from the characters to the way you interact with things, to the merchant, to the buying and finding things and treasures, or unless they added all that stuff to 4, was that already there?
That's all there. And also the boss rush element, right? Where like there's kind of like a line of bosses that you just go after.
Yeah, exactly. Like every
yeah.
once in a while, there's another kind of boss fight. So yeah, I was shocked. I'm like, I don't know, and I don't know what that kind of Venn diagram looks like of crossover, but I know that Village got some flack from people like Hogue, right, for the approach it took. It's kind of fantastical, gothic, fantasy horror, whatever you want to call it. But he also said he didn't really care for 4, which makes sense now when I play them, right? But I don't see how anyone could like 4 and not like Village. They're so similar. I mean, it feels like 4 has a tighter, kind of more focused narrative. If there could be such a thing in Resident Evil, right? Village is kind of all over the place, but otherwise, it feels so similar.
Yeah, it's got a tighter story. I feel like a better character. That's always my problem with 7 and 8. I think the main character is annoying as hell.
Ethan,
Ethan, and also
he's kind of nondescript.
Always getting dismembered. It's like, man, this guy cannot keep his pieces on him. I've never seen that in a person.
Well, and I don't want to spoil anything, but they really dive into that in Village for a reason that is told at the end, which you don't realize. So I won't spoil anything, but it's kind of a weird way to go. I mean, I see why they did it, obviously, in hindsight, but yeah, it's definitely different.
So is 7, 8, 9? Is that going to be a trilogy? Is that like the Ethan trilogy, or are we done? Like, I don't know.
So again, don't want to spoil anything, but at the end of 8, they say that Ethan's story is done.
All right.
At the end of Village, and then the DLC, as you know, is Ethan's daughter Rose. So I don't know where it goes. I'm pretty sure they originally said that 7, 8, and 9 were a new thing, if I recall. If anyone wants to correct me, let me know. So I don't know what 9 is going to look like, but I guess we'll see. I would assume that you're going to play as Rose. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
So, yeah, but anyway, great game. Dan, play them.
Nope. Not gonna.
4's not even scary.
I can't.
It's not really scary. No.
I'm all right.
Hey, what part are you on, by the way, Ains?
I'm end of chapter 10. So again, no spoilers.
Far.
Yeah, I'm pretty far. I've played it. Like I said, I have like 12 hours into it.
Did somebody convince you to shoot the lake?
To shoot the lake?
Shoot the lake, like early on in the game?
No, I don't think I did that.
Okay. All right.
A little Easter egg or something.
I saw online that a bunch of people who played Resident Evil 4 back in the day were telling new players, like, hey, in the beginning, shoot the lake for a cool surprise. And if you shoot the lake, that fish guy attacks you early and just eats you. Yeah, it just eats you, and it's impossible to dodge. And so I was going to see if you were still early so I could play that prank on you, but it sounds like
no.
Yeah,
I probably would have guessed it, though, because, again, in Village, there's a lake, there's a big fish monster, and if you fall into the water, he eats you. The other funny thing is, like, there's even like boating where you're boating around and like finding treasures and stuff. You do all that in Village, and I would argue, honestly, Village does it better. Village's implementation of kind of the explore this big area and find treasures, and you can go off and do these side bits. I think Village did that better, which it should, being 20 years newer or whatever. But,
yeah, it's newer. So. It had the benefit of foresight, and also hindsight. And also I wish it had the benefit of foresight. That'd be amazing. And also I feel like they were more equipped to make that game a puzzle, because the water section in Village is kind of a puzzle section, right? Like you're messing with the water levels and timing things right to make sure you don't get eaten.
Yeah, it
and
opens
that
up
sort
more
of
as
stuff.
it goes.
Resident Evil 4 was like a GameCube game with a bug in my face. Was a GameCube game that I feel like was pretty limited in scope. It kind of feels like an arcade shooter a little bit. The way you're traveling around to different things and popping them in the head.
True.
At least it felt like it to me, especially on the Wii version where you actually have the plastic gun. That's like the ultimate like arcade experience.
Yeah. I wonder. Oh, well, I guess they do have a demo for RE4. I was thinking, Dan, because your big thing you said is jump scares, and like for instance, I would never tell you to play Dead Space because that game will probably give you a heart attack. But
I played Dead Space. That's what I mean. I played.
No,
1
but you
and
said
2.
you played it when it came out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Originally,
your heart was in better health at that time,
right? Yeah, much better health. Than that time. Yeah, not full of calcium and plaque. Yeah, that was the good old days, as I like to refer to.
But I don't think in terms of jump scares, I don't think I've been jump scared once in RE4, unless I'm forgetting something. But it's very I mean, there's some horror elements, but it's not scary. It's really not. It's an action shooter that has horror elements, is what I would say.
Yeah, so maybe I'll download the demo.
Yeah, five is even more of an action shooter, and it only has one jump scare like way late in the game. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I always forget it. I always forget it
when it comes out.
It's the conveyor belt with the bodies lying on it. Do you remember that part? There's like one jump scare in that game, and it's so funny because I always forget it's there, and then when I get there, I'm like, "Oh Jesus!"
I still have the red 360. Like they did a RE5 360 bundle. I still have it upstairs. It's red ringed. It doesn't work. But I still have it.
Nice.
It's kind of funny. Good morning, everyone. I see a bunch of new people, not new people, but people just joining. Good morning. Good afternoon. As always, we say here we are simulcasting across Season Gaming and Hogue channels. If you can support both, that would be hugely helpful. Appreciate it. And Squirrel, thanks as always for helping out. All right, guys. What else you been playing?
Yeah, I'm playing a couple games. I want to give a shout out to Terra Nil because I know Hogue mentioned he's playing that as well. Is
thank you.
Yeah, Devolver Digital kind of like gardening building game. It's maybe a Stardew Valley-ish, I guess. Not really, but it's the same type of thing where you're planting stuff. Super cool game. It's on Steam. It's on the phone. No, Netflix. It's on Netflix. Is the other platform, which is crazy.
Netflix.
You can play that.
Really?
You can play it on Netflix. Yeah, if you have a subscription, which is
I
really
think it's
weird.
on Android and iOS.
Well, we don't have to guess because look who's here.
Oh my God.
What?
I heard some dumb takes about Resident Evil, and I had to rush right in.
I thought it was the Terra Nil stuff.
Oh, yeah. I was like, wow, we talked about Terra Nil for 30 seconds, and he shows up.
You actually got that thing.
He got his bucket.
Amazing.
You actually paid money for it.
I'm sending one to you, Hogue, because this will help recovery, my friend. All you do, you put it on, feel like a superhero.
There you go. There you go. No, I was watching you all talk about Resident Evil, and I said, I have to get in there.
Nice. Nice. Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm okay, Travis. How are you?
I'm talking about games we played this week, and I was starting with Terra Nil.
Oh, yes.
So Travis
played a bunch of Terra Nil this week. Yep.
Terra Nil is super cool. Very beautiful game. Great soundtrack.
Very chill.
Very chill game. Yeah, it's cool.
So what is it exactly? I guess is it like a simulator or is it a?
Yeah, I mean the basic premise of Terra Nil is that you're taking a dead world and you're reviving it with an ecosystem of some kind, and so
it's a terraforming game.
Yeah. You've got these various, I think they're called like irrigators and toxic sludge cleanup machines that you put down in various places, and then essentially you restore an ecosystem, and then you have to do a few more complicated things to bring animals back, and then you leave. Like part of the puzzle is getting out of there and removing all trace of your existence, and then going to the next level.
So
but it's a lot of fun. It's it's isometric. It's God view kind of city builder looking game, but instead of building cities, you're building forests and trying to find deer and bring toads back to the land and things like that.
When you said God view, it made me think of Populous. It just like flashed in my head from when I was
Yep.
a little kid playing that game. What a classic.
Yep. No, one of the things I thought while playing Terra Nil is like this would have been really well thought of if it came out during like the Populous era.
Mm-hmm. Populous was like it was a moment when that came out. I mean, it didn't change the world, but it was definitely a new thought on what games could be. Interesting.
Yeah. Well,
cool.
Populous leads to this kind of stuff. Little Computer People leads to The Sims. I mean, you got all this stuff that goes way back in time and then leads to evolutions that we see today. But Terra Nil is very cool. And I think, as Travis said, beautiful soundtrack. It has that kind of plinking piano that we know now from super serious trailers or Breath of the Wild or something like that. And it grows in an intensity and kind of breadth as you bring back life to the area. So it's a good idea.
It's cool. So I played a little bit of that. I played the game I'm reviewing. Am I allowed to talk about that? Yeah, because it's I can say I'm
talk about it anyway.
So I'm reviewing Dead by Daylight's next game, the developers' next game.
Cool.
Which is called Meet Your Maker.
It's a pretty you have to be able to talk about that. That's like out, right? That's on PlayStation Plus.
It's coming out on Tuesday.
Oh,
yes.
I saw the ads. It said I get one free. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's coming out on Tuesday, so it's not out yet. But basically, the premise of the game is twofold. One, you are a raider who goes inside bases, and your goal is to steal the treasure. It's like genetic material that is hidden somewhere in the base, usually in the heart of the base. And you have to deal with like traps going off that are trying to kill you, like Indiana Jones style, and enemies that attack you and that sort of stuff. And it kind of has like a Doom feel to it in terms of gameplay. Like you have a grapple hook and you're zipping around and swatting people with your sword, and you have a gun with super limited ammo. In my case, 3 shots. Basically the levels are made by other players. And so other players will take their prize, put it somewhere in their base, and then build the traps and decide where the enemies spawn and all the stuff around it, trying to prevent you from getting it and killing you as often as possible in the process.
Like they're playing tower defense.
Yeah. Oh no, they build it. It's asynchronous. They build it and then they leave.
Oh, I remember seeing this when they first debuted it. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So they build the base and then they dip, and then the other side of it is that you have to build your own bases. And so I've had a lot of fun in early access because I'm building these incredibly difficult levels and just watching people. You get to go back to your level afterward, and you can watch replays of them trying to attempt it, and you can see all the places that they died and all the ways that you got them. There's like stakes to it too. Like the more people die and the fewer people steal it, you can profit better. And also, if they keep stealing it, if you have the mode I have turned on, you actually lose like resources if they successfully take your thing.
They showed this at Summer Game Fest last year, and I think it kind of caught people's eye as kind of something new.
It's a super original idea, but it kind of is in the same vein of like a Mario Maker, where like you're playing levels but also making your own. Except for this has more of like a meta to it. Like you want other players to try and fail at your level, and then you want to beat everybody else's level while dying as little as possible. It's pretty interesting. I've gotten pretty good at raiding people's bases, and then I'm taking pride in making like uber difficult levels that infuriate people, which you can see because you can see how many died and how many people quit your level, and then also they leave feedback on your level. Like, the comment I get all the time is like brutal and ingenious, and like, comments like that are like, oh, your level.
He's praising himself again, guys.
It's definitely playing into Travis's most problematic characteristics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My most problematic being toxic is basically what I'm doing. So, it's pretty fun. But it's fully co-op, both in the building mode and in the raiding mode. So you can play with another person, and just like you're raiding the base together. And I haven't got a lot of co-op in yet. I need to do that today. But it's a super interesting idea.
Is it pretty intuitive as far as like controls and like
building? It's exactly what you'd expect, RB to throw a grenade and LB to shoot your grapple hook.
Yeah, I figured that would be. I'm talking about like the actual building of the.
Oh, the building's great. Even on console, like I'm able to build a level in probably like 40 minutes, and and then iterate it as I see people play through it. And the one thing that I will say is very like interesting is how easily it is to publish your level. Like basically as soon as the level is made active, you can make changes to it in real time, and the level gets changed for anybody who like plays it after that without you having to like save version 1.1 or 1.3. Like you just make a change and then the level just updates. And then also what's interesting is you have a max build limit like all these games, but if you do a good job at killing people with your level, you can prestige your level and increase the build limit. So it actually lets you make the level. Yeah, it actually lets you make the level have more stuff in it and be more difficult if you continually kill people and then pay resources to upgrade it. So
there will be eventually, right? And so it's two things. One, it sounds like definitively a game that requires player base, which means PS Plus is probably a great idea as a launch.
Great idea.
Two, it sounds like this will be where, for lack of a better phrase, cream rises to the top, right? Where it's going to be like the best levels will have a bigger budget and they'll get worse and worse and worse and worse to try and complete. And you'll have this kind of like pyramid of difficulty that'll eventually create itself in theory.
And the cool thing too is that based on how many people your level kills, but also just how many traps and stuff and enemies are in it, the game will assign you a difficulty. And when you're picking a level, you can pick the difficulty and it groups player maps together. And so I basically played like a couple levels in normal and then like one level in like the middle difficulty. And then since then I've gone to the hardest difficulty and I haven't left. So I'm just like playing the hardest levels and like trying to, because you get more resources and materials and XP by playing harder levels. So I'm just like, you play like 2 levels and get way more done than if you play like 10.
So it incentivizes you to build by giving you additional things as you play.
Exactly. You're unlocking more upgrades to then improve your traps and make mods and that sort of stuff. And so I basically have spent all my resources on like buying all the traps and then buying mods for all the traps. That way I can find like creative ways to trick people and trap people. So
But have you met your maker?
I have not. So I will say this about the game. The game has like a story. Like it's like, oh, we live in the future. It's Mad Max and our genetic DNA is falling apart. Yeah. And then they're like, yeah, you need to collect genetic material. And so it sends you on all these treasure hunts to collect genetic material. And then you keep powering up the creepy creature called the Chimera that's asking you for all the genetic material, but like nothing happens. They're just like, cool, I have more genetic material, I'm even more powerful now. And then you're like, all right, is this going to have any payoff? Is there actually a story to this game, or is there just a premise?
Is it a fully featured launch, or is this launch kind of like a early access type thing?
It's fully featured. I think it already has an early access launch because I've run into a bunch of player levels, like for players that I assume aren't in the review period. So I think it had an early access launch already. But it does have a live service kind of model. I won't say live service, but it has a roadmap. Like they've already released like their post-launch roadmap for the stuff they're gonna add. So my guess is
a game like this would kind of have to.
Exactly, it kind of has to. So my guess is it's probably like a live service in the same way that Minecraft is, where they're making optimizations and improving stuff and adding tools to their sandbox that you can unlock and that sort of thing. Because it's pretty light right now. It is.
Has to be, right? Yeah.
Full cross play. I don't know if it's cross play, but certainly the levels are, because I see a lot of like PC creators, and then when I see an Xbox creator, I'm like, oh, this will be fun. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, go play my level. My level's super hard. You can test run your own levels, and I have a hard time getting through my levels because I know what I'm bad at doing in the game, so I intentionally make traps that like I think I would die to, and then I play my level. I'm like, yeah, that did kill me. That's good.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump in.
No, go ahead.
I was curious, like, does it go by PSN ID or gamer tag? Like, and so do you know if it has the capability to look for your friends list levels, or does it use its own like ID system?
It does not have its own ID system. It has their tag and then the logo of what platform they are. So the presumption would be then you type in the name and then you look for the name and platform combination. But I have not tried that out a lot. I'm going to write my review tonight probably, but the things I have left to test are multiplayer and doing things like searches. And I also haven't tried out the watch replay of other people playing your levels feature. I haven't figured out how to get that to work. Actually, I don't know. So yeah, I'm like
Okay.
maybe like 25 hours into playing the game, but there's still when you spend like 2 or 3 hours building your own level, like it eats up time quickly without you doing a lot. So I've probably beaten like 100 or 150 levels and made like 4 or 5 of my own, but I still feel like I have a lot to do to fully understand the game. But it's super fun so far. So
Sounds
playing
cool.
that. Yeah, playing that.
Yeah, this was on my list of things to check out. It sounded different.
It is very different.
I like different. I like experimental. I guess I like the idea. We've seen some games like this that are purely community driven, right? And a developer will design a game that requires the community to engage, right? And we've seen failures, a lot of failures in that space. I always root for them though. Like I want to believe there's a world out there, and I'm sure there is, right? We've seen good examples of it, but I want to believe there's a world out there where a developer can kind of hand a toolbox like this that's kind of a game in its own to the community, and the community can make it thrive. So we'll have to see what comes. I know that PS Plus is a great choice in terms of
100%. And the thing I think that is cool about this game, and that I think maybe will make it have a better chance of success, is it does require community around it, but it doesn't require a sustained community. It's not like we're talking about like playlist volumes, right? Where it's like, oh, I hope there's enough players to fill a
matchmaking,
lobby.
right? It's not using
matchmaking. It's just if you build a map, it can be in the game forever. And I've noticed that the developers themselves have made a ton of levels. Like there's like probably hundreds of levels in there that say like Devious Team, which is the developers like making it.
Okay.
And then to their credit, for the review period, the developers have been in the game like playing everybody's levels and like running through it. So they're like doing a lot of heavy lifting to kind of bootstrap it.
That's review, the DVD guys. That's what is that? Behavioral.
Behavioral. Yep. Yeah, Behavioral is the developer.
I love DVD.
That's the developers called Behavioral.
Yeah, Behavioral. Yeah, studio or games or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, we should reach out to them. We should see if one wants to come on here and talk with us. That'd be good.
That'd be cool. Yeah, they're Dead by Daylight suite, and this game looks like they're trying something completely different, and it's interesting. So yeah, I've got a lot to do. Nix asks when my review will be available. So the embargo lifts on Tuesday. However, which is when the game comes out, right? However, the embargo also said like, hey, you might want to hold off on a final review until you have a chance to play it when the world is in there making stuff, because that's kind of a big part of the game. And so I probably won't have a final review until maybe like Wednesday or Thursday or something in progress. Like so next week I'll have it next week though. It'll be live at some point.
Cool. You got me excited for it. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I saw people talking this week about Meet Your Maker coming to PS Plus, and I was like, that rings a bell. And then I didn't think any more about it. And now that you've described it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's that game that looked really interesting from last year when they showed it at Summer Game Fest. Now it's clicked. So now I'm looking forward to that. That's cool.
My prediction is it'll make a bit of a splash initially, and then people will quickly be like, there's not enough. There needs to be more weapons. There needs to be more character types. There needs to be more traps, more enemies, because it is light on all that stuff. Like there's only like 3 or 4 different types of enemy. I think it's 4 different types of enemies.
If there's one thing the community will be good with a live service game is telling the developers they want more. That will happen by Tuesday evening at about 4:30 p.m.
I suspect you are correct. Yeah, but I'm just like preempting that because I've already felt it. Like I'm like, oh, this is all really cool. Lots of traps. I wish there were more enemies. I wish there were more weapons, stuff like that. So.
Well, certainly if they wind up supporting it like they have DBD, you'll get that in over a decade. But yeah.
Dude, they've crushed it with that game.
Fantastic live service game. And I think
I have no idea what Dead by Daylight played like in year 1. Because I rolled in at year 4, so it already had 35 villains.
I think
it is still like 1. I look at Xbox Live most played games a lot, just because I'm an idiot.
Dead by Daylight
it's always in the top like 10 to 15.
But the one thing I'll say for that might not be the case with Meet Your Maker here is that it's very easy to explain, right? It's digital hide and seek. You can get non-gamers into DBD pretty easily.
Yeah,
and they've done a great job of licensing too.
Meet Your Maker has some of like, I don't know if you guys ever had like a fantasy as a kid of like building your own like dungeon or base and then having your friends try to raid it. But I feel like it's one of those ideas like digital hide and seek that's like really like core to what people think about when they think about games. Like you know, whether you're building with Lego or whatever as a kid, like the idea of like creating like a well-defended base with a drawbridge and, you know, stuff like that, and then making somebody else storm it. I feel like people find ways to do stuff like that in Minecraft. You know what I mean? And like this is just another sandbox that's like built for it. So it's super interesting.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's cool. Glad you brought that up.
I probably can't play it. It's an action game, but we'll see.
True. Yeah. There are some reflex stuff, but
Fair.
Somebody get this man a Microsoft adaptive controller.
I have an adaptive controller. My occupational therapists don't want me to use any extra controllers. So no, video gaming is part of my therapy. In fact, my secret weapon right now is Theat Rhythm, which is working on my left hand all the time.
You say feet rhythm?
Theat Rhythm. It's like theater rhythm.
I thought you said feet.
Yeah,
I was like, wait, what?
No,
okay,
the Final Fantasy game on the Switch.
Yeah.
Yes, gotcha. Okay, that's cool. How's it going?
It's going all right. We're pretty darn close. I'm doing manual dexterity now with fine motor control on my fingers, and the arm is getting stronger every day. But
nice.
We're still a couple of steps away from, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it's not quite Twitch how you would think about it. It's not super fast, but just kind of brain tells left finger to hit bumper, left finger hits bumper, things proceed. It just takes a little bit longer right now than it does on the right hand, and so that's a problem when you're playing action games.
Sure.
So I'm practicing that right now with pinball, which I love. But those are timing elements on the left finger. So we're getting there.
Nice.
That's got to be a very strange feeling to, you know, do something that's so core to just your day-to-day function, right? And to know what you're thinking you want to happen, and for there to be like an input delay, basically. That's got to be a very strange feeling, Hogue.
An input delay or a hold, like the other aspect of that is like once you hit it, releasing it is a little bit of a trick because that's flexation versus extension. So you're flipping your muscles. These are all things that I think about now that nobody has ever thought about before.
I was going to say, you're using words. Like I'm really excited for you to do that video you've mentioned about the whole experience, because I feel like it's going to be like a wealth of learning of things I've never even really thought about.
Sublux, flex, extension. Yeah, they're all different muscles.
What's your bit rate
on with electrodes? Yeah.
What's your bit rate?
bit rate on your hand. We need to know that. What do you?
Well, He's
really got like that 34 millisecond, input delay right now. He's trying to work it down.
We're at something like 98%, 99%, I would say, but it's still one step left to go.
You could beat some people in multiplayer already. That's what I'm hearing.
Probably me. I mean,
Dan has an input delay on all actions of about 1.3 seconds. Yeah.
I mean, I'm at the point now where I have to look at my controller sometimes. Like I'm progressing, or I'm just like, what button am I hitting? So I mean, listen, I have no metric to use.
If I'm looking for a fourth teammate for Halo and it's between you and Dan, I'm taking you every time.
I would, for sure.
I would take Dan, but not
this weekend. That was the first time I've done anything action wise.
I would take Dan, but just because I like a challenge.
You get it.
I think you guys would be sorely disappointed with my current first-person shootering, but I appreciate that.
Well, it would be great. We've been playing a lot of Resident Evil 4, so we'll have a cool escort quest where we're like, "Oh, get down," and you're like getting in the way, and we're this guy trying to shoot around you. It's great. Get down, Mr. President.
Good stuff.
But I have an adaptive controller that one of my community members sent me. That's awesome. That is ready. But my official therapy notes are try to do things that you did before normally, as we try to get everything working on the left side. And it's really, really close. I don't want people to feel like, I've just got a slumping left shoulder all day. I don't, but still needs a step or two because video gaming actually is kind of like the highest level of tier of what I can try to do with the hand, because we're working on typing and I can type with my left hand mostly, but I jam up with playing video games, but not as much as I did a month ago or 2 months ago. So first 6 months after a stroke is still best chance for gains, and so we're focused on that.
Gotcha.
This is a very specific. What are you playing?
Yes. What am I playing? I'm playing Theat Rhythm to work on my left hand. I mean, what other games do they have me doing? I'm putting in like battleship marker pegs into holes.
Nice. Great.
Oh, okay.
Which is super hard to do when you don't have full fine motor skills.
What are those light boards where you make like a design?
like
Light Bright.
Light Bright. Yeah. That's a good one for you.
Yeah,
Get
so
your
they
artistic
have you
expression.
They have you pick out things out of bowls and then like manipulate them in your fingers until you can get them to a place where you can insert them and then put them into a board. But just for practice, try to do it with one hand, and then try to do it with your non-dominant hand, and then don't give yourself a stroke. But pretend that you're not able to use it so well.
Damn.
I feel like is anybody else here left-handed?
Yeah, I am.
You are? Yeah. So I don't know, Ains, if you feel this way, but like using my not dominant hand is almost like expected if you're a lefty, and so I feel like lefties on average have like less of a problem. Like I use my right hand I could write with my right hand.
I use my right hand for a lot, even though I'm a lefty. Yeah. Funny enough, like sports is the funniest thing. So I've said a million times, I've played hockey for 25 years. I shoot right-handed. When I play baseball, I swing right-handed, but I catch left-handed. So I'm kind of just all over the place. Like, yeah. That's
kind of interesting. I feel like you righties need to step up your game, start to use that non-dominant hand.
I'm working on it, Travis.
So Travis, I don't know if they had these, all jokes aside about being old. When we were in school, they had those desks you sit in where they just had the one arm to write on. They were all for right-handed. So I'd have to sit in the chair and sit like this sideways, so I could.
My abuelita would swat my hand with a wooden spoon if I used my left hand at all. So I had to learn. I had to learn to write with my right hand as a kid, and I was not allowed to write with my left hand. So it's funny now my left hand handwriting is like pretty bad. I pretty much write exclusively with my right hand now because every time I get the inkling to do it with my left hand, I just imagine that wooden spoon from my abuelita. She's still alive. She might come after me. I don't know. I'm worried about it.
I've never had such a skill set. So at least for me, it's still working with a non-dominant hand that doesn't work at full power. And so we do things like, like the coin, flipping your coin around your fingers. We work on that kind of thing and then putting it in a dish. So
lots of Ains, we'd be really good at writing in Japanese. Is that backwards? Or they just read backwards?
I don't know if backwards is officially right. I don't think right to left or left to right.
Right. Do they write right to left? I don't know. I know they read right to left.
I don't know. Right. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think we'll get away from the Poland cultures writing backwards.
Yeah. Well, to us, Ains, it wouldn't be backwards. Right. If you ever written on a whiteboard, like that's not the. Yeah, it's not the way.
Like, are you sure you're left-handed, Ains? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
you do everything literally with your right hand.
Yeah, no, if I throw with my left, right?
Is Dan going to end this friendship if he is left-handed? That's what I want to know.
This is all throwing me off. You throw with your left hand? I thought you said you catch with your left hand.
Well, meaning no. Like in the field, right? I catch right, throw left. But when I bat, I bat right. I play golf right. I play hockey right.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
People switch it all the time. I know all about it.
To Ains's point, I tend to use my right for power and my left for dexterity. That's the line for me.
This is weird.
Yeah.
All right. We are all over the place. I love it. Anything else? I'll get to we'll do our first kind of super chat read down here, but I want to make sure there's nothing else you guys want to talk about and currently playing.
Yeah, there's a bunch, and I unfortunately think we don't have enough time to talk about it, but oh God, what is on my list this week? Oh, I finally got some PSVR2 out there.
Excellent.
I also PSVR1, weirdly. I was playing Rhombus of Ruin. Have you played this game, Ains?
Heard the game. I have not played it.
It's a Psychonauts VR game. So I was playing that.
Of course. No, I own it, and I've never played it.
Yeah, so I played that. I'm probably forgetting a million games that I'm going to be kicking myself for not mentioning right immediately after this. But yeah, it's been a great week for gaming.
Yeah.
Remnant 2. My IGN first coverage ended this week, so I can actually talk about that game if we don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I saw your full preview out. Yep, awesome. Awesome. The Rally expansion came out for Forza Horizon 5 this week too. I downloaded that. I played for just a couple minutes. I not enough to speak about it, but But yeah, and then I know this is going to be probably not relevant to many people, but finally the new PGA Tour game from EA comes out on Tuesday, which I'm very excited for.
Beautiful. That game's gonna awaken me sexually. Who doesn't want PGA Tour? Great.
Come on, man.
I'm gonna discover an entire
Hashtag
different
pumpkin
part
patch.
of myself. Pumpkin patch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. Like I've been playing MLB, right? I've been playing the show like pretty much exclusively, except for like a little bit of Fallout, and it's amazing.
I hear the Negro League storylines that they added
You know
are
what?
awesome.
I need you to kind of give me like an official SG email, which I probably have, but I probably don't use ever. So I can, because I feel like I'm like literally 20 minutes away from the museum. Like I feel like I can like get a hold of Bob Kendrick. I've met him a couple times. Amazing guy. He's the one that narrates everything through the Negro League stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Super nice guy. I've met Buck O'Neill before he passed back in like 06. I mean, I go down there probably once or twice a year. It's just a cool place. I mean, and you learn new stuff all the time. That's the best part of the game, for sure. And that's probably the most work they put into it. I'd love to like sit down with them and interview them. And
get them on here. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I wish. I've already emailed through my email account their basic contact stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, it's really they've made improvements. The more I played it, the stuff that I usually play, the Road to the Show, pretty much the same. They haven't really done much with that. The Negro League stuff, I think, is really, really, really well done. But I think it's also really
what league?
The Negro League, the Negro
League baseball storylines. They put them in the show this year.
Yeah, so they've got like Buck O'Neill, Jackie Robinson.
Have you never heard of the baseball Negro Leagues?
No. Starting in Kansas City.
Oh, you probably then you're really lost. You probably were like, "What are we talking about?"
Yeah,
I'm like, is this a meeting? What is this?
No, before baseball, like the MLB was segregated. They had separate leagues for black players called the Negro Leagues.
Yeah, in 1939.
You did not know this?
I mean, I knew about segregation. I didn't know that they were still putting this stuff in video games. That seems crazy.
Well, they put it as an honor this year to kind of thing. Yeah, it's a museum piece to reflect on the history
of racism. Got it. Yes. Cool.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Sounds great.
Each one of they have like eight Negro League players, and there's like an 8-part story that Bob Kendrick will narrate. Each part and tell a little bit about that person. And I've played through.
That's cool.
Buck O'Neill, and then you do like, get on base 3 times in 2 games or something. It's just like a kind of a very simple thing you have to perform.
Oh, they're little like chapter. Play moments.
Right, little play moments. Right, yeah, and you get to the next chapter of the story. I played through, I think, Jackie Robinson and Buck O'Neill so far. I didn't, and I knew who Buck O'Neill was before I came to Kansas City because he was part of the Cubs organization way back, like the 60s or 70s. I'm just a huge Cubs fan, so I knew who he was, but I didn't realize like how deep the actual history of it is, and until I got here. And I don't think the museum opened till it might have opened right before I got here, but it was like mid 90s. It's a really cool place. If you're ever in Kansas City, I mean, that's one of the places you should definitely go.
I haven't been. I need to go.
It's amazing. And right next to it is Arthur Bryant's, or right, a few blocks away, actually. So, get some barbecue, go down there.
Barbecue place for those people who don't know.
Yeah. Bob Kendrick is literally there. Like, I've run into him and seen him a few times. I mean, he's just a super nice guy, very charismatic guy. And he does a really good job with the narrations and the stories and stuff. That's the best part of the game by far. I wish they did more with it. I feel like they kind of shortchanged him a little bit, but this is only season 1. So I guess there's another season. I don't know if it's the next iteration.
Oh, they're going to continue to add to it.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if they're adding to it this year or they're going to add to it with, the next. They can do, I think, a lot more with it. But it's cool to see that. It's cool to, and see that kind of part of Kansas City's history on the video game, So it's really, really well done. The rest of the game, I mean, not a huge amount of changes. So it's I some of the reviews that went up, I was just like, we gotta kind of. I don't know. I don't know how much you can iterate like a sports game. You know, we've talked about this 100
We
times.
talked about this all the time.
It's just yeah. You know, but this PGA, they haven't been out for a while now, have
No,
they?
they've been making this game for years. It was supposed to be out last year.
I thought they stopped with like 5 or 6 years ago.
They did with Rory McIlroy.
Rory McIlroy,
years
yeah.
It
ago.
used to be called Tiger Woods, right?
It was Tiger
was
Woods
way
way
back
back
then.
when, before he did all the things he got into. So they broke that, but they haven't had a game in years. This one, I've been following it because I just love golf games, always have. I don't know why, but I've been following this one for a while, and the tech behind it and what they've done to rebuild it is really, really impressive. So I have very high hopes for it. I will report back next week. I may do a review on it actually, so we'll see.
Give me some hot shots, Sony. Come on,
dude. I love Hot Shots. My favorite. I love it.
all I
Everybody,
know
everybody's golf. Why did they need to change the name? It was Hot Shots. I don't know why.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
basically what it is.
That was the last one.
By the way, Lucius says, so Travis, he says, there's a lot of pride toward the Negro Leagues despite being a weird time. And then he said, I can understand not knowing about this and suddenly hearing people say that though.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are allowed to say that. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, no.
They're looking at the panel like, no, we're not supposed to be talking about this guy.
Yeah, like, yeah, no. Obviously, I know about segregation, guys. That's not at all what this is about. I just don't know about sports. I'd never heard about this league, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird time in sports history.
That does sound cool, though. That sounds. Cool.
I mean, it's worth downloading on Game Pass and just playing that part of it, just to kind of.
That's the reason I brought it up, Dan. Is because I've seen several people say if you're not playing the show and you're on Xbox, it's on at Game Pass. Just download and play the Negro League storylines because they're really good.
They're so. I mean, I think a lot of it is actually Bob Kendrick. I mean, he's just got this voice, and he's just the way they shot it and everything is just really, really well done. I mean, they put a lot of effort into it.
These games have done a good job of doing historical stuff. I really like 2K's Michael Jordan series.
Yeah. See, that's. I mean,
yeah.
You can do and make this cool stuff. I think but just don't leave everything else kind of in the behind. You know what I mean?
I think they perfected the show like 5 years ago. I think they.
That's the thing. It's the best sports game I think out there by far, as far as how the mechanics work and everything else. I think they there's not a ton they can do every year, obviously, but you can bring a couple things in here and there, like with Road to the Show, which is basically you create a character, bring him up through the minors, go to the big leagues. I think you can add a little bit more, maybe some light like RPG elements, maybe like Madden's trying to do that with their, not really successfully, but they're trying. Yeah. There's a little bit more story there involved instead of just like a text message from your manager or your agent, like, hey, where do you want to play? What if this happened? It's like, okay, thanks, coach. And it's really basic. I think there's more to be had there if they really wanted to. But yeah, I definitely recommend downloading it. And I mean, it's literally all you got to do. All you got to know how to do is press the button. That's all you got to do. You basically got to press the button to swing the bat. It's not very complicated as far as progressing these little stories that they have. So
gotcha.
You just want to see that, it's great. Or just come to Kansas City, make a vacation out of it. Come meet Ains, and I'll give you his address, and you guys can go over to his house, and he's gonna buy barbecue, and you can go out in his backyard and play with his dog. Dogs
sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. He's got a big house. Yeah, it's all good.
That is not an open invitation.
Totally open invitation. Yeah. Or come over to my place, and I'll cook you some food.
Dan can't invite people to another person's house.
Yeah, that I recommend.
No problem. Whatever you guys want.
All right. All right, let's shout some stuff out here. We'll go through. We've got some stuff backing up here I want to call out. So let's go ahead and get
17 of them.
Yeah, Googleman is out of the gate again right before we started.
All right, some Dyson V8 vacuum love. All right, Googleman. Recently disassembled my Dyson V8 for a thorough spring cleaning, and there was a bunch of gunk in there. Romancevania looks fun.
Boy Drac, Lady Drac.
Yeah, and then there's something that says eyes pink heart shape on StreamYard.
And then lollipop.
Yeah,
a lollipop. Googleman, thank you. Good update on your vacuum.
Yep. Hey man, that's exciting. For me,
No,
I mean, that's
it's not.
let me tell
if you think about it, we haven't really talked about cleaning products on the show, which has created a bit of a vacuum.
Oh my gosh.
Not exactly
I'm muting him,
where I was
guys.
going with
I'm muting Travis and Dan at this point. Me and Hogue
What
are
is
going to
wrong
take
with
over from
you?
here.
that. I like that stuff.
Marianne Williams, again, super generous. Marianne, she put a $20 super sticker on both channels. So
Wow.
thank you for that.
Nice.
Super appreciative. That is just awesome, and appreciate the ongoing support there, Marianne. Thank you. Rob Frawley has a question for us. He put 2 super chats, so I'm going to read these, Dan, so bear with me. So Rob
Perfect.
Regular here says, do you have any controller-based third-person shooter game recommendations for a 68-year-old who has never used any console since the Atari 2600? Ultimately, they want to be able to play The Last of Us and Last of Us 2 due to the HBO show. He followed it up with a second super chat saying, moreover, any recommendations on teaching someone basic game literacy? Should I sit down and help them, or should I give them a controller and leave for a bit, or something else? So
I always recommend working through the control screen and imagining what you're going to do with it with another party. That's basically how I teach games for the most part. But honestly, third-person shooter is a tough one to pick for novice who hasn't played games in a while. That's a tricky ask.
Yeah, the tough. I mean, you're saying he hasn't played since Atari, so honestly, I don't know. My first thought would be start with 2D. Let them get a feel for controller and movement and basic things like jumping and action buttons. I remember, I don't know about you guys, I remember first playing Turok on the N64 and Mario 64, obviously, and being introduced to kind of 3D concepts and camera controls, and it was mind-blowing at the time, and it did take some time to get used to. But I would definitely say if they haven't played since the Atari and they're near 70 years old, I would not jump into a first-person shooter. I would begin with basics.
I'd probably recommend Ratchet and Clank or another game that has an auto camera follow with a pretty harsh
auto follow. Be good,
so
and it's not difficult, right? That's a good call. It's still 3D, but
obviously you're playing on the PlayStation. I'm guessing since you're playing The Last of Us Part 2. If you're playing on a PS5, there is that. Was it the little Sony robot guy that came out of the console? Astrobot, yeah. There's that, it's got tutorials in it, and just jump in that for an hour and see what happens. It should, I would think by the end of that you'd be all right. I mean, The Last of Us Part 2 isn't like a very difficult controller scheme to learn.
It is.
I don't
if
think
you're thinking about someone who hasn't played anything.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
But
it's not hard for you because you
that, it's not going to matter. You can go from Atari to The Last of Us 2, or you can go from Atari to something a little bit more complex. Say like I don't know.
I think the trick is going to be double sticks, right? Like that's everybody's trick moving into 3D.
Right.
So you got to be able to move
with 2D.
You got to be able to move them separately and understand what they're doing.
Too much time.
Look, Hogue has taught people how to play video games because he's a dad. I assume you have too, Dan, unless you walked away.
No, just
3 of us are dads, Travis.
So here.
Yeah, but you guys don't teach your kids. They're not educated people. Hogue, he actually
he's in the mood today, isn't he?
Travis talking about something he doesn't know. It's a
clearly the best way to teach somebody to play video games is bring them to the sweatiest PvP game you can think of and just beat them until they cry, and then they'll learn. No, I would actually recommend Minecraft. I saw some people recommending that. I think that's a great game. It does have double sticks, but it lets you learn at your own pace, and you can play with them, so you can guide them through it and teach them stuff one brick at a time. Also,
perspective here, guys.
Portal 2 is also really good. Because it's a multiplayer game and it's like basic movement and puzzle mechanics.
I have no doubt that you'd struggle moving the horse because again, that you're going to be using the camera and the direction at the same time in that opening.
Yeah. Also, a lot of modern games take advantage of the fact that everybody has video game literacy, and there's certain tropes and like a nav menu where you hold down LB and it has the wheel, you know what I mean? That's stuff gamers know that's kind of complicated and unintuitive to people who don't play them. So yeah, I would say
Yeah.
Stay away from that.
I'm a push your kid into the pool kind of dad.
See,
and
that's
see
what I was
happens.
saying, Hogue. That's what I was saying, Hogue. I knew
You gotta
Dan
sink
was
or
going to
swim.
say that.
And guess what? I got,
And guess what? I've got 3 dead kids. I'm just
Guess what? I have 2 kids left and they can swim.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I got the good ones. He was a dud. He was a
I've got
dud.
some
Okay?
college funding that I can spend now. So yeah, no, that's my theory. I mean, maybe not. Obviously not. I don't push my kids into a swimming pool a lot, but I think that's a good way to do it. I mean, you're eventually going to learn it, or you're not. It's when we've been doing this for so long. It's just kind of reactive, and it's just we just kind of know right when we go into the games especially with the 3D camera and stuff. So
yeah,
no,
good.
That's
good
one
point,
way.
Dan.
That's my advice. It's not the best advice.
Yeah,
but,
I don't send my children to school either, because if they're going to learn science, they're going to learn science. You know what I mean?
What the hell does that even mean?
I don't know. I feel like he's getting really political there.
All right. Hope
Look,
that
you're either going to know
rambling
calculus or
nonsense
you aren't. You know what I mean?
Hey,
That's what
get
I'm
in there and learn it.
helped at least,
That's
Rob.
what I say.
Yeah.
Well-
The good news, right? Well, you're on. I mean, the good news now, right, is you don't have to go out and buy different games. Like, I mean, between PS Plus or Game Pass or other things, just download a whole bunch of games and, experiment, I would say. So
I think the fundamentals are 2 sticks at once. And so anything that helps with that is going to be helpful. And then go to the actual control screen and then have somebody work through the buttons in their mind as to what everything does. Because the things that we take for granted, right? You hold the left trigger to aim, you shoot with the right trigger, give or take in most games. People aren't even going to know if they've never done it before.
Right. There's things in too, like I mean, I'm sure there's others, but of course, first in my mind is Halo, where it has the firing range. So you can just literally go, it hands you a weapon and you shoot at targets. That would probably be a good warm up for someone getting used to aiming with the right stick as well and pulling the trigger and having those things click in your brain. Because you are going to have to, if you're going to play Last of Us, you're going to have to know how to move and shoot and roll and all those other things that we take for granted. So, yeah.
And I'm very sorry for your experience as you continue.
Dan, back to you, sir.
Darth Mac, $5 from Chet. Black and White, 1 and 2, God mode. That was
so we were talking about Populous and Black and White.
Okay.
That was
Peter Molyneux, wasn't it?
Molyneux was like that was his like one of his big game moments, right? It's Black and White.
There's a documentary on YouTube or somewhere where
those are actually
kinda
good games though.
and it was really, really fun to watch.
Black and White's
Molyneux made
okay.
good games. He made some good games. Fable was awesome. He's been up there. What are you guys frowning for? I saw those looks.
Black
Fable
and
was
White
good.
had
Come on.
imagination. Fable was like discount styles, whatever. Zelda, fantasy, anything. I can only take so many British people.
He's
I'm not
being
doing this today.
extreme, but he's not the most wrong. I mean, Fable, like I was one of those guys who saw Fable and I heard Peter Molyneux talking about it in the trailers, where he
It
had
definitely
talking heads,
didn't
and I was
live
like,
up to what he
this
talked
is going to be
about.
the greatest game that's
No.
ever created. I broke up with a girl to play Fable. This is real. A girl called me the day Fable came out. I had just got my copy home, and she called with one of those conversations where like, hey, look, you can save this relationship if you just talk to me. And I was like, I don't have time for this. I got to play Fable. I hung up that phone, and that was the end of that relationship. And you know what? I played that game for a couple hours, and I was like, damn it, why did I?
Yeah, but
She's
you're
not
better
the
off
most
for it
damage
now.
Molyneux has done.
Molyneux.
Yeah, who the
Molyneux.
hell?
Look where you are now.
Yeah, Fable actually completely turned your entire life around. I mean, maybe not around.
Are you
Molyneux
arguing that
saved
was
your
the
life.
Nexus? That was
Yeah.
He saved your life.
That was the moment. That was the butterfly flapping its wings.
He saved your
Okay.
life and ruined D's all at the same time.
That's true. Yeah, she's really in trouble. Yeah, that was
Crazy.
Fable
All
is
right,
kind of finite, but without that history, I mean, you'd look at it as the brute force of fantasy role-playing games.
Yeah, God, it's a good game.
I hate that you get old as
I
you
didn't say it
level
was
up.
the best RPG of all time.
Everybody's
or anything.
80
Come
years
on.
old at the end of that game. Really? Every hero's 80? It's insane.
People
Oh,
age.
sure, you liked it just fine in
Nuts.
Sifu.
Yeah.
Oh, it's true. Yeah. It's a little different though.
The aging mechanic. That was the worst part of Fable.
The aging mechanic was terrible in Fable 1. And then in Fable 2, they doubled down by making it so that you get fat and then there's like no way to get thin again. You have to be fat for the entire game. So like every single hero was overweight at the end.
Choices have consequences, Travis.
Yeah.
You learn
It's
this one day.
insane to me. It's crazy.
You try to stop eating chocolate covered pretzels and tell me how easy it is. It's not
I'm doing
Not.
okay.
at all. No.
Gecko Gamer in the house.
Yeah, Gecko Gamer. What April Fool's joke in gaming was the best? Gosh.
Yeah, there
Always
were
in-
some
always
yesterday. Of course, there was the new Sonic game of the where you murder Sonic.
That's not an
which-
April Fool's joke. That's an actual game.
I know,
Oh.
I know. It was talked about in the chat. I was trying to bring up some of the ones chat brought up.
There was an April Fool's joke in, I want to say, Electronic Gaming Monthly when I was growing
Shang-Long.
up. Where no, it was
Oh.
it was before Wind Waker came out, and they were showing stuff from Wind Waker, and then they announced that with Wind Waker you would get like or beta access or early access to this other Zelda game that was going to be like next gen and super graphics, and they got like screenshots that they faked and made it look super cool, and they put that in a magazine. So like I got that and I was like, oh, this is real, not thinking, oh, it's the April edition, they're just messing with me. And I think it was like a significant amount of time before I was like, oh, that's just fake. I told a bunch of people. I like told my friends at school. I was like, dude, there's gonna be this new Zelda game, I read it in this magazine. It was totally made up.
What a
So that
dork.
that one got me. That one got me.
Good job.
That's a
Yeah,
long
I
time
saw
ago.
some people in the chat talking about. I thought when you said EGM, I thought you were talking about Shang-Long because that was the famous Street Fighter prank that EGM played, which
What's that
that
one?
spread
I
like
missed that one.
wildfire.
That's the secret
Basically-
character fight.
Yeah, the secret character fight that if you did this thing at Bison, you could fight this guy called Shang-Long, and I mean they ran with it. It became like a widespread thing. People saying I actually
Really?
fought him and actually did it, and yeah,
Amazing.
it's big.
Yes, well, back in the day, that's how the elementary schools rolled, right? Because I remember all
right.
those jokes about NBA Jam codes and things like that,
Oh yeah, God, NBA Jam.
where you could be like the Toronto Raptor and eat the other players. Like, oh yeah, I did that definitely.
Yeah.
Sure.
We all did it. There was one for Battlefield, I think, 2024, yesterday, that had Dead Space crossover. And I was like, that might be good. And they were like, hi, April Fools. I'm like, oh, that's about right. That's about right, EA. I mean, something that sounded actually kind of cool for a second. I was like, oh, man, that Battlefield
Yeah,
just
get
came
like an
out.
Isaac skin for your character.
You want
Yeah.
somebody in one of those helmets running across the battlefield?
Yes,
Right. Yeah.
Little known fact: this is bulletproof.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yep.
I would love to see you test
That'd
that.
been awesome. Yeah.
It's
Thank
very
you,
sad
Gecko.
Mythbusters where they test that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. The game
Peggy Lamb with the
commits
$10
manslaughter.
super sticker for Hogue
Nice.
channel. Peggy, thank you very much for the support. Appreciate that.
Bam.
9-inch nails gal. Ningal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 9-inch nails.
Yeah.
That's right. But was it? Did we end up with settling
Yeah,
on
we
that?
confirmed it. We
Okay.
confirmed it.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, good.
It's just
All
no one
right.
calls her that, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah. Starting my Monday with a happy Rick. On the countdown of hours is just over a day until my gallbladder comes out. Great start of the week.
Nice.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
But also-
Also, yeah, she's in Australia. So, yeah, it's already, they're in the future out there. So,
Good
Oh,
job.
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
I would have guessed Ninja Gal based on Nin Gal.
Yeah. It's
Um,
really
so-
She's giving me special permission to say Ningal, I think, now. So
Nice.
Ningal. There you go.
that was
That's
a joke
awesome.
we had.
Good
a few
luck.
months ago.
Yeah, good luck, Ningal. Hope everything goes as planned, of course.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
thank you.
yeah.
And I think that'll be a relief for my fellow
Yes.
family members that have had that particular surgery.
My wife had it a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Rough.
Ash Axiom, shout out. She became a channel member on both channels. So thank you very much, Ash. Appreciate you. Also want to shout out that co-counsel's in the house. Good
Yay.
morning.
She is. I
Mrs.
saw her
Hogue.
pop in and say she was going to call me because she was out of the house, but decided to check this channel first to make sure I wasn't on.
That's a good call.
Good. So hope you're doing well, co-counsel. Ningal with a second super chat.
All right. I was a lefty until I blew out my left shoulder. Now I'm 100% bothy. Nice.
Mhm, mhm.
I like it.
It makes you
Telling
feel
you,
better.
man.
My shoulder definitely just had a ping just reading that. So
Oh boy.
Man, there's I'm not going to get into it too much, but there is some stuff I can't do anymore because I had rotator cuff surgery maybe 5 or 6 years ago, it doesn't move like it used to. So certain things.
wrote
You raise the roof.
My
Yeah,
rotator cuff
that I
exercise
can
is
do.
some of the hardest things I do.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
man. Big old scar.
Oh yeah, you get the big line down there.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's pretty huge.
Hogue has a brain scar, so let's see it. You know.
Oh, no.
Right, it's right here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look at
yeah.
that.
There you go.
That's
Look
pretty
at that.
sweet. Who wants to die without any scars?
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yours is
That's awesome.
better.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, his is better. Yours is
I'm
like
told
now
that,
you-
I'm told that it's rad. So
it is.
It's pretty
Sure,
rad.
dig it, man. That's
Harry
what
Potter.
He is radical.
It's
He
like
is.
Harry Potter.
that's the whole joke. So sometimes it hurts, right? And I'll say, "Oh, my scar hurts."
My scar
My wife
burns.
goes, "Is Voldemort around?" Thanks.
Amazing.
That's great. Then
What
Gal,
would
so
Voldemort be
stop.
for you? What would Voldemort
You.
be for you?
You're Voldemort.
I'm Voldemort. Yeah. Wait, does that mean I caused his stroke then? Because I would have to be responsible for his scar. That's
No, that's rough.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Sorry about that, Hogue.
Damn it,
Mm-mm.
Travis. You took it too far this time. Gal, stop breaking things and having surgery. I wish you the best and stop doing those things.
Yeah, new
Don.
gallbladder, new arm.
Don with the $10 super chat. My vote, for the poll, neither. Horror games equals.
Human creating bile.
Yep. I don't find someone trying to scare me fun. Hogue's voice sounds much stronger. I like regular readings of super chats. Also decided to buy Midnight Suns on
Midnight
PSN for 50%. I've been playing that as well.
Great
Well,
choice.
that's
DLC.
Spring
Good
Sale has
choice.
been fun.
Good choice. You know who's been
Yeah.
a giant proponent of that game has been Lord Cognito. Every time I
God,
get
yeah,
on
he's
Twitter,
pushing it.
I mean, I'm thinking he's getting paid at this point because
Yeah, he's
that is
definitely
what
Yeah,
he's
dude.
done with design.
He's like
I love
a
it.
walking advertisement for that
He
game.
is,
It's kinda
man.
crazy.
It's awesome. But it's a
Yeah.
good game.
Big time.
Got the DLC
Yep.
too. It's really good.
Yep. Shout out to Don. He left us. He said he's a few weeks behind, but he still listens to us. One of his favorite shows, listening on his drive to Jacksonville. He left us a comment the other day.
Beautiful.
So shout out to Don.
Nice.
Thank you. Rebecca.
All right, Rebecca with the 999 super chat. My husband and I celebrate our 3-year wedding anniversary tomorrow. Congratulations. He's a big gamer and loves Pokemon, Hogwarts, Resident Evil 4, many others. Need a gift idea. Any suggestions?
Seems like the whole panoply of video gaming is open
Yeah.
to you, honestly.
Yeah.
Woman is out of ideas, embarrassed by it, and thinking of ideas.
Which is why she needs our help.
That's right.
I think everyone here knows that I have about as much gaming merch as you could possibly fit in one place. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, or if you're talking about like buying a game specifically. To that point, the mix between, as Hogue said, Pokemon, Hogwarts, and Resident Evil 4 is all over the place. So he probably likes most games. What is good in that instance, in my opinion, are platform gift cards. So whatever platform he plays on, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, Steam, whatever, you can just give him
All right.
platform
Listen,
money.
Could do
I
that.
love you,
You could
man.
do
But
that.
if I got my wife a gift card for like
Yeah, I was gonna
pretty
say
much
that.
anything for her anniversary, no,
But guys,
It's a
guys
guy.
tend to not care.
It's a
Guys
guy.
tend to not care.
I don't care.
Guys
No
tend
way.
to not care.
We don't
I
know
will say
that for
this
him.
though.
Is if
Ains-
he's like, I would love it. Don't get me wrong.
get
I would
scared
love
of
it.
that.
People,
I'm just saying, I don't
people
know
care
him
too much.
personally. I don't
you put
care.
too much weight on presents. It's
Listen, I
a
don't-
free game.
Well, look,
I'm with you. I'm on your side. I'm just saying, I don't know Rebecca's husband.
It's true. Rebecca's husband might be a soy boy. We don't know. So he might care about this sort of thing.
I don't think it needs name calling to care about your anniversary.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Here's my actual recommendation.
Poor guys try to
Rebecca.
get Rebecca divorced.
Rebecca.
Poor Rebecca.
Madness.
Rebecca, my actual recommendation is, if your husband is like me, a big gamer, they may keep a wish list on various platforms of their choosing, which are publicly available. You can go and see what games they've wish listed. I do it on most platforms, and therefore it's easy to find out what games I would like to play. And so if you can do that, you can go on said website, search for their gamer tag or username, and then see their publicly available wish list. And then that's how you know what games they
Do you
want.
guys
That's my
genuinely
actual
do you
recommendation.
think that is better than just giving them money on that platform?
Oh yes, getting an item
Ains-
is better than a card. Yeah.
Actual
Ains-
thought.
Here's the
into
thing.
it.
Here's the thing
I'm
about
very comfortable in my relationship, apparently, because this stuff
Very
is
clearly.
meaningless to us.
To me too.
Here's the thing, Ains. It's not about monetary value. It's about showing that you thought about the person and you know
No.
them well enough to
No.
know what they actually would
No.
like. It's about showing
No.
the time that you put into thinking about it.
No,
I don't
No,
agree
I can
with
tell
that
you.
either.
that's all-
I can
that's
tell you've
Hallmark
been off the
movie shit.
market for a while, Ains. You've been off the market
No.
for a while. You don't know
That's
about
Hallmark
romance.
movie shit.
It's 100%.
I don't know
function.
about romance. Says the guy who's
Yeah.
not even married yet.
It's all
Yeah,
about
wait a minute.
function.
Exactly.
The older you
He
get,
forgot
like-
about romance.
He spent like a year of his salary on an engagement proposal.
It's true.
Oh,
It's true.
that's
That
funny.
was a very
that's how we go
expensive
into gift
engagement.
giving. Me and my wife are like you, Ains, are just like, listen, what do we need? What do you need? Would you like some new shoes? I just ask her, and then we're done. That's
For a
it.
wedding anniversary, new shoes, eh?
Whatever. It's all about
Doesn't matter.
function.
If
For
a
wedding
gift
anniversary,
if a gift for a birthday defines your romance, you have bigger problems.
No, we're
That's
going
a fact.
for our
Birthday.
anniversary. This is our 10-year anniversary this year, in actually like 4 days and we are going to New York City but that's
Cool.
in May. So that's what we did.
That's
So,
an experiential.
How about a trip to New York? There's my suggestion.
There you go. Trip to New
No problem.
York.
My
The
answer
Broadway
is
show.
State.
Yeah, train to
No
Boston.
answer.
It'll be a good time.
By the way, Rebecca got way more than she bargained for with this super
Yes, she
chat.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Totally
she did.
worth the $10.
I
Can't really argue
apologize
that.
for my co-hosts.
Honestly, apparently I shouldn't speak. I thought I had a good idea. But in all seriousness, if he likes
pretty
games
bad
like
idea.
Pokemon, Hogwarts, Resident Evil, no, I just have a different relationship, apparently. Then he'll like almost any game.
My
So you
God.
should be in good shape no matter what.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Shout out to Linnea K, new channel member. Thank you very much for that support. Twisted Tragedy, $20 super chat.
Oh man, coming in late. What do y'all think of what Wildcard announced with Ark? I don't know what they announced, but wiping all official servers, re-releasing it on Unreal Engine 5, making everyone repay for the game and all extra maps, and postponing Ark 2.
Sounds
I
like a
didn't-
real
I missed
Vin
this one.
Diesel of a move, huh?
It does.
You missed our Fast and Furious slander earlier, Hogue. I wish you were here.
Oh,
for
did
that.
I?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
What a
Yeah.
shame.
It was unfortunate.
yeah. It's bad news.
Yeah. So on this one, I saw that Arc 2 got delayed till late next year, 2024.
That's all I saw.
I didn't know the details of it. So wiping all the official servers, re-releasing it on UE5, making everyone repay for the game and extra maps. That can't be right. Is that right? Do we know the details on this?
I did not. I only heard about the delay to Arc 2, but that's crazy.
That's
for
all I
the
heard,
Arc
too.
1 stuff.
If they were
That's a-
re-released
sounds
on
like
a
a
new
terrible
engine,
idea.
though, that makes sense to me.
They would have to, wouldn't they?
So they're basically saying that has anyone invested money into Arc 2 at this point in time?
This is about Arc 1.
Oh,
Arc
I'm
1.
sorry. I was
No.
thinking something else.
The Arc 1 news
Okay.
is news to me, but the Arc 2
Yeah.
stuff is the only thing I saw in headlines this week. So that seems pretty crazy.
Okay.
If this is
What-
true,
But
And-
also, yeah, why would you do that? Right, if you're releasing Arc 2, why would you then upgrade Arc? I mean, is it because people have a bunch of stuff
I
back?
think you can presume that in making Arc 2, they worked with the new engine and came up with some new techniques, and they want to apply it backwards, but that'll kill all of the extra DLC and things that people would have bought. Right? I mean, we've seen this before.
No.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to bring up a topic later. We might not even have time to get to it around multiverses. I don't know if you guys heard that news this week. So multiverses came out, third quarter last year. It's had season passes, battle passes. It's had characters you can buy. They come out this week and say, thanks for beta testing it. We're turning it off till next year now. And it's like, what? Like,
Gorgeous.
what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense.
Welcome to Travis's world of live services.
Yes, it's the best.
Yeah, this is I mean,
Yeah.
it's not there's
So-
there's bad life services, guys. There are bad life
Yes.
services.
I
I
mean, I
So-
do think we should call out. You really shouldn't cross that particular Rubicon of money has gone in and now we're pulling it all away. Like, I do
Agreed.
think that that's an issue that is going to become a bigger issue as more, let's say, aggressive developers start to do that, because that was one of the things that I think, for the most part, the industry basically held on to is once
No,
you've bought
that's,
things.
That's incorrect.
Well, outside of Destiny, I can't think of any time when people have pulled stuff from you.
It happens all the time when servers turn off.
Right, but that's different. Failure of the game is
that's
different.
multiplayer. No,
Failure of the
because
game is different.
you can't access most of the time when servers turn off. Like you can't play that game. Period.
But
it's actually a big problem.
But I'm telling you that a voluntary action to remove access is different from our business model failed and we're done.
Oh no, not business model failed. Like for example, if you want to play like older Call of Duties and you want to play like the multiplayer experience, you can't. They turn the servers off. So like that's content that you can't access anymore. That's not the model failing. That's just the game got old. But it's, I mean, I see your point. I worry about this constantly in games that aren't live services as well, because it's actually kind of becoming common for games to get pulled off stores or get removed, and I think it's kind of a shitty thing in general. However, the live service, it's much more rampant. There's a lot more opportunity to do it for content to come in and leave. It's true of even good live service games like Fortnite. If you missed a season, you can't go back and play those seasons. And I think there's like a game preservation question there of like, well, where does that live? Like, how do we document that even happened? It's just sort of in the ether. And I think, to your point, live service games are hard to do. They're tricky, and I think there's way more ways to do it wrong. And I think Multiversus is a great example of a company that's doing it wrong. And I hate to see, it's stupid. It's bad.
Yeah, I think to this specific instance, this is a weird one for sure. I don't agree with it. I mean, that should go.
Well, I think they'll take reputational damage, and I think that's good. They should.
They should. Absolutely. Everybody should be as loud about this. And my only request would be mad at the developer and be mad at what they're doing and call that out specifically, because I actually think it does detract from the argument when you attack the model in general, because then you're kind of painting everyone with a brush, and you're attacking a group of games that don't necessarily share that same value or actions. And I would just say, be angry at that developer and their specific actions with this game. But I wouldn't blame, you wouldn't blame the entire games industry for the actions of one. So why would you blame a model?
Well, because I think it puts temptation in front of people that maybe don't need that. And I think we're seeing it more clearly as more and more of these games come out.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first part.
It causes temptation. And there are a lot of people willing to
developer.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people willing to execute on that temptation. And so I think we can continue to call that out in the model.
You mean like they're trying to push the boundaries of what they can get away with? Is that what you're alluding to?
Well, in this particular case, I mean that we can sell stuff before our game is out in our own minds that they didn't share with anybody, as far as I know, and then we could just pull it and feel okay about it. That the entire live services model provides temptation for doing acts that we would otherwise consider unethical, if not illegal, in various aspects of sales. Commerce.
Yeah, I don't know if there's less temptation than that. I mean, DRM has been a thing forever, which allows them to basically, you don't own the stuff that you're buying. It could be theoretically removed from you. It could be removed from your library at any point in time, and some games have actually done that in the past. But I think it is certainly a shortcoming with the live service model that when something has happened, it is gone. That's like a big problem with live service in general. I think this is almost not even really an example of that. This is an example of like they charged you for the game and then they took the game off the store and shut off the servers for it without telling anybody. That's not even really a live service problem. That could have happened to any game. I mean, you could have bought like early access and then they could just remove it from the store and block your access for a year if they wanted to. I don't even know if that's necessarily related to.
Well, then you would still have the game technically if you have it downloaded. You just couldn't play it. If they got rid of, like you always call Hitman 3 live service game, you can play Hitman 3 offline.
Well, they take you get no progression. They take off the store entirely is what Travis is saying. That I've talked about this in Virtual Legality, which is that when that happens, you have a whole trust failure within the entire model that more and more of these various providers of content are having to deal with. Sony Pictures lost access through their store to some specific studio that I can't remember, where people lost access to their movies. And I said, well, this raises questions across everybody and all of their stuff. So everybody should be mad at this, because you can't have this. You got to work out those contracts. You got to work out those licenses, because the one thing that everybody's depending on right now is when I buy that license, it doesn't go away.
Yeah, it's faith. They have faith in that their digital copies are going to be as valuable as if they owned a physical copy. I think, and that, like, there's games that aren't live services that require online connectivity. And when games get pulled or servers get taken down, you lose access to those games, and this happens a lot. So it's honestly not even related to live service. It's with the idea of digital rights management. It's always online connectivity. Do you actually own a thing, or do you just own access to it until the developer says that you don't? This is a larger industry problem beyond live service. The fact that this is a live service game, I think, adds extra like vitriol, because there's a lot of people who don't like the model or don't like those types of games. But I honestly think this is just a larger industry problem that scares me just in general, because I own 100% digital games.
You've only ever owned a license to the game. I mean,
yeah, even if you have a
did.
physical game. Yeah, that's true.
Not all. There's still some physical games you can play offline. I can play.
Yeah,
both.
but
that you play it offline. You don't have ownership of the game as a property, right? We're talking about intellectual property rules here.
Of course,
correct. Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, if the game requires a digital check-in and that's removed,
and that's why I think we can be okay.
Travis's digital copy won't work, whereas a physical copy would.
Well, check-ins technically are allowed under the Copyright Act. You can go and you can phantom a check-in. That's specifically in the law.
Yeah. So my point is, Ains, is that a lot of people, when they get a physical copy, they feel comfort from it, but you don't actually get any benefit.
No, you're still getting the license. Really. Understood.
You're still getting a license, and people argue, it's offline. You can play it offline, but that's not really true, right? Like the game, even the full game isn't on the disc. You have to download it from somewhere, and so then your digital copy is on your console, the same as mine. That's where the game lives. It doesn't live on the disc, and so you having the disc is just your check-in. That's all it is. And so if they took it off the store or made it unavailable, and there was something that didn't allow it to play off of your storage device, you'd be in the same position as me. You would just have a physical copy. Yep. So it's a big problem. Like I'm surprised there's not more push to like get a law passed or something to protect the gamers that care about this.
It's going to get bigger.
I feel like it's a big problem for players.
Well, I disagree that it's a big problem, if only because the incentives are that the actual purveyors of video games and digital movies or whatever else you're using have all been in alignment towards not allowing that to explode in that way, to have things pulled off the store. The reason you don't see it isn't because somebody somewhere hasn't wanted to do it, but that it makes sense for Vudu and Amazon Prime and the PlayStation Network and Xbox to defend their stores. So it happens only very rarely. And then when it does, you want all the voices to come out and shout about it. And that usually that gets reversed.
Yeah, I mean, aren't there Netflix shows that are Netflix originals that are now being taken off the store? Like that seems to me like
HBO Max pulled their own stuff off, not Netflix.
HBO.
Wait, isn't Netflix doing it with
I'm pretty sure Netflix is pulling some shows too.
Yeah, the comedy show, Jason Bateman. Why am I Arrested Development? They're removing the seasons that they made.
Oh, well, that's
which
just
is
for
like crazy. That's crazy to me. I don't understand the.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there should be regulation around this, because I'm just really concerned about just like content preservation. The fact that like you can't gain access to this. I have the same problems with like episodes of shows that they edited, right? Like they killed an episode of Community that people found offensive, and now you can't access that even if you bought the show digitally. And so I had to go and buy physical DVDs because I care about that. Like these are, to me, like serious problems that I feel like this stuff should have to exist. I don't know. It's scary to me.
It's a big question, man. We're going deep on the super chats today. Twisted, thank you. Twisted, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Moving on.
Mariano Pompa with a $10 super chat. Alrighty. On the April Fool's talk on Rocket League, they changed the in-game chat, picked certain words, and it was the lyrics to Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up." LOL, Rocket League is a great game.
That's awesome. Funny. Yeah, Rocket League is one of our regulars. If you don't know, you can use the D-pad while playing, and there's like shortcuts to phrases that you can put, which pop up on the screen for all the players. And so what he's saying is, when you did that, it would normally say something like "nice shot," but I guess it was switched to show the lyrics to "Never Gonna Give You Up," which is pretty hilarious. That's awesome. Pompa, thank you. Rebecca, following up on our discussion about the gift.
That discussion was everything.
Laughing, crying.
He's a PC gamer. Thanks for the suggestions. I have some gifts, just looking for a new game that maybe he doesn't have yet. I will
Laughing,
look for,
crying.
I will look for a wish list. You know what? I was
Terra
thinking?
Nil.
Awesome.
How about a really nice pair of like a good gaming headset? If he does use that, I think he would appreciate that. You know, if he's
Also,
playing,
could be
if
a
he
good
plays
idea.
online, I don't know, but that's always a nice gift.
Yep. It's a good idea too. Rebecca, thank you. And then I saved these other 4 because they are all for Travis readouts.
Yeah,
So
I'm just
God.
gonna
Travis,
do the whole thing.
you better
These
buckle in.
emojis?
You have a lot to go through.
Oh,
So
boy.
anyone listening, this will be a few minutes of readouts here. So run
Okay,
through it,
great.
Travis.
All right. Short one for Travis. A bear ate some broccoli and a ice cream, or what is that?
Yeah, it's an icy.
An icy in an office building, which was then attacked by aliens who
It's a sky tram, right?
Yes.
were attacked by aliens while he was riding the tram. And is that like no sound? Mute? Is that a mute
Yes.
symbol? And the aliens made all sound in the world go away. So they had to communicate using physical mail in the post-apocalyptic setting. Then was that no pirates and then pirates? Is that what that means? And there were no pirates, and then there were lots of pirates. So this is a story of a poor bear who was enjoying a day where he was eating healthy but also unhealthy, and then his business was attacked, and it sounds pretty bleak.
All hell
it's
broke loose.
I
Yeah.
think it's the movie. It's the movie release schedule. You start with Cocaine Bear, you move through the alien movies, you end with Oppenheimer, and
Yeah.
Secret McSquirrel
Yeah.
might pirate them. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Speaking of
Interesting.
Oppenheimer,
Okay.
yes, let's go. By the way, on YouTube, that shows literally as a bowl of ice cream with the cherry on top. On StreamYard, it shows as an icy. It's completely different.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. By the way, I forgot to also shout out good old Vintage Willow gifted another 10 memberships over on HoegLaw. Very generous. She's done that before, so thank you very much for that. Squirrel, thank you. Travis, you're still up, my friend.
Before Disney Plus.
Okay. What's the next one? Travis emoji reading fun as promised. Blank rectangle. I'm sorry. I don't know what emoji you were doing, but it didn't work. A feather and a pretzel and a mushroom. Okay, so this is maybe like a bird eating some food. A pretzel, mushroom, a piece of candy, and some, is that custard or a flan maybe?
Or flan. Let's call it a flan. Yeah.
Let's go with the flan. All right, so he's pigging out on an island, and then all of a sudden, well, I don't even know what the hell that is. Is that a server? What do you guys see?
Yeah, let's say a superhuman AI intelligent race drops down.
Sure. Then okay, so he's eating on an island, and then there's a server in an office party that is refusing to see, hear, or speak anything. This is tough. I'm gonna go with this is like an interpretive dance. It's really up to each person's personal kind of interpretation of things. Although maybe if I knew what that first emoji was, it would all make sense. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, it didn't
like
come
a crazy face,
anywhere.
an angel, a devil, and a bomb.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that was part 1. I bring to you now the sequel.
No.
Oh, maybe I was reading the wrong one. Yeah, I was. Sorry.
Part 2 emoji party for Travis. Go.
Here's
all
your
right.
crazy
A crazy dead person went to hell for bombing someone. That's unfortunate. When they were there, they were talking to the cops. Well, what the hell is that? They were, man. One sec. I can't see that one. Okay. All right. When they were there, they were talking to the cops and fighting. They were fencing with them, I guess. So they had to duel the cops in hell, who were pigs. All right, that checks out. That doesn't change the story at all. Then there were eggs and a butterfly and a coconut and an eggplant and a pie and clinking beer mugs and the Statue of Liberty. This is I can't turn this one into a story. I have no idea what's happening.
Pie, beer, and Statue of Liberty is American Pie.
There you go.
That's a good one. Okay.
Until the aliens came.
More aliens, a flying saucer. There's just lots of alien storylines today. On a subway. Yeah.
And then
and
fireworks. You got Independence Day.
there was time for a wedding on Independence Day in Vegas because there's a slot machine, and he hit a bullseye with that bikini body and ballet. She was a ballet. What do you call those people? A
Ballerina.
Ballerina. Thank you. I completely forgot that word. They blew the horn. I think it was a Jewish wedding. We're not sure. And now they both have a key to the house. It's great.
Or to each other's heart.
I'll admit my ignorance here. Are there horns at Jewish weddings, Travis?
No, I don't know where I got that from. There's horns and there's horns in other Jewish holidays. So I don't know. I was just making sure.
All right, Stacy, thank you as always. Appreciate you. And the last one.
Okay, final one. Here we go, everyone. It's gonna be fun. I know what I'm doing, and I can totally see the emojis right now. Okay, there we go. For Tie Guy, I've got the Tie Guy emoji. Then there's a guy who's raising his eyebrow, so he's surprised by something, and then he starts thinking about it, but he decides better. He's like, I shouldn't talk about this because that would be demonic and or evil, and it would be going full goblin mode, and maybe it might even kill someone. And then there's a cyclone. I got nothing there, and an alarm clock. And some paw prints, and then a whole bunch of animals.
There's a tornado coming, so his alarm went off. He had to get up and save his animals. Come on.
He had to get up and save his animals. Yeah, because there's 3 cats. I think those are all cats, and they're very scared of the tornado.
Very scared. And his server boxes, he's taking those too, apparently.
Wait, do you see a server box?
I see 2 black boxes. Do we not?
No, you're
Wow.
You're smoking a crack. You're smoking a crack.
Well, I don't know if that's what's doing it, but still. All right.
We don't know.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for the super chats. We are at some point, an hour and 51 in, going to talk about our main topic.
We have a main topic?
Is that real?
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about the
clickbait.
We're still on surprise.
The cancellation of E3. So we can tackle this. Come on, guys. Come on.
Easy.
So E3 was canceled this week officially by the ESA and ReedPop. This is after confirming they would have a digital and in-person event. They had a date and timeline for it. They had provided media people with badges. It was basically on track. People were making travel plans. I was actually about 2 weeks removed from booking a hotel room and flight to go. And IGN broke the story first, I believe, and then yes, ESA and ReedPop came out and confirmed it. There was an interview by GameIndustry.biz with ESA president and CEO Stanley Pierre-Louis. So just a couple comments on here that I wanted to call out. So he was basically asked why, kind of what were the main reasons for this, and his response was, and I quote, "First, several companies have reported the timeline for game development has been altered since the start of COVID. Second, economic headwinds have caused several companies to reassess how they invest in large marketing events. And third, companies are starting to experiment with how to find the right balance between in-person events and digital marketing opportunities." So Chris follows that up with a couple questions. He says, basically, is the plan for E3 to return in 2024? And of course, he kind of beats around the bush here. He says, we're committed to providing an industry platform for marketing and convening, but we want to make sure we find the right balance that meets the needs of the industry. We're certainly going to be listening and ensuring whatever we want to offer meets those needs. And at that time, we will have more news to share. He then says, Chris then asks, if it sounds like if E3 does return, it won't be like what we've seen in the past. And the last thing he says on this is the ESA has been advocating for the industry in the U.S. for almost 30 years. E3 has been in operation for many of those years. It's an important staple in what we provide for the industry. It's certainly one of the things we provide for industry, including the important advocacy work, but we really look forward to bringing the industry together to showcase the incredible innovations and creative works that we have produced. That's going to remain strong with the ESA, ensuring we continue to provide those opportunities. We'd certainly love E3 to continue to be a part of that, but we know we'll continue in our day-to-day roles in doing the issue advocacy for industry, which is a very weird way to
it's a lot of words
word
to
that.
say.
Yeah, to say the same thing about 3 different times. So anyway, guys, I think I guess what I wanted to pose, because we actually talked about this a little while ago, right, with last year. But I think many of us, or I should say many people, are looking at this as this is it, right? They tried to bring it back. They tried to do the in-person event. They were close. Ubisoft backed out. Sega backed out. Tencent backed out. Obviously, Nintendo backed out. And then Xbox does their own thing. PlayStation's in its own world. So it just feels like this might be the death knell for E3 permanently at this point. Do you think that, one, do you think it is the death knell permanently for E3? And two, do you think that we're just in an age of industry now in 2023 and beyond where a multi-day, 4-person, in-person event at a big convention center with all the major publishers just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense in this vein like it once did?
Well, I don't think it'll ever make sense like it once did, but I think that's the point. The ESA is a uniquely poor messenger for trying to prove the value proposition of doing anything together, and they failed now 3 or 4 times in a row. So it's no surprise that people have left. Nintendo Direct changed everything as to how these people at publishers look at the monetary proposition of going and showing up in Los Angeles, of all places, to put on a show. So you have to go and convince them that it makes sense. And you have to have something that's different than just what they can do on their own with a video channel and influencers, right? And the ESA clearly failed to do that again. But does that mean nobody can? No. I just wouldn't trust the ESA to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the way, real quick before you talk, Travis, sorry, I just want to call out Gecko Gamer's super chat. 6-year super chat. He says, for the main subject, does E3 have any hope of reviving itself, and how would that happen? So exactly
a show does. I mean, I'm almost certain the ESA owns the name E3, so it would be called something different.
They do.
But I think a show can come back because I think there's still usefulness there. But it might take a few years for the companies to figure out that there was a usefulness for the June show, or they might move it to a different time, or they might do it differently. But it probably doesn't make sense to have, SWAT team members descending from skylights and huge dinosaur exhibits in jungle rooms or whatever. That probably isn't going to make sense. But what is going to be doing something different than what they can just show in a YouTube video. So I think you're going to continue to see people experiment with it, whether it's Summer Games Fest or developer shows, and something will work, and somebody will figure out how to sell it to game developers and publishers, because I do think it's important. And I think something is missing in the industry in setting the calendar and getting people excited about things for the next year when there isn't a show like this. But the ESA has had problems before now. COVID didn't help, but they clearly don't have answers. And everything that ReedPop put up, which is clearly under direction from their client, the ESA, didn't sound terribly attractive to me either. So it doesn't surprise me at all for Ubisoft and everyone else to say, nah. We've looked at the budget. We looked at the budget, and that's pretty darn expensive for what we think is no discernible difference between just putting up a press release or a video. You're going to have to get better at selling than the ESA has been.
Yeah, and real quick, I'm sorry again, Travis. I know you speak here. Someone asked what E3 is. I apologize. We come in assuming that everyone has the context here. So E3 stands for the Electronic Entertainment Expo. They just became E3 for short. It was a very large kind of trade show originally, how it began for the gaming industry in the 90s, in summer, usually right around early June. And it kind of became a staple of the video game industry. Every summer, all gamers kind of look forward to E3 because it was where all the big publishers, developers came to showcase their upcoming products. That obviously has evolved greatly over the past decade or so. And the last formal E3 was in 2019, where it was at the LA Convention Center. They did a digital show in 2020. It was really badly organized, which is what Hogue was speaking to. The idea was now that the pandemic has lessened, if you will, that they would bring it back this year. There was plans to do it at the LA Convention Center again. People like myself were planning to go and cover this, but it's canceled, as we said. So anyway, and just further context as well, Jeff Keighley, being the Keighley as he is, came out celebrating this, which was kind of strange. I don't know, but he basically came out and reiterated that Summer Game Fest is June 8th from the YouTube Theater in LA. He mentioned last year, as you guys may recall, that this year was going to have an in-person event as part of that show, but there's no details that I can find about the in-person event for that yet.
So I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, pretty much. It's going to. Right.
Yeah,
So
I actually
yeah.
researched this week because we were trying to figure out what our content plans are, and it's basically like a theater showing, but there's no show floor, there's no
like he always
show,
does.
and
Okay.
it's basically invite only. So like either you can apply for, I don't know, like a ticket or something. The website's terrible. It's all from 2022. Like all the dates are outdated and stuff like that. Basically, it's like a, text Jeff Keighley or that's it. You're not going to go to this event.
Yeah. So anyway, Travis, larger thoughts here. I thought you
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this. So E3 was a really, really good idea that has always sort of failed to be, I think, what it had the potential to be. And so a lot of people like to, crap on E3 and applaud its downfall. But I actually think that that's hurtful to the industry because I think we need something like that. And I think to Hoeg's point, the ESA was a terribly run organization. I have my own qualms with them. They leaked my information to millions of people who, now send me physical mail to my house. So, I dislike the ESA as much as the next guy, I'm sure. However, there actually is benefit to having a big gathering of the entire industry. For one, the industry is stronger together. And I know that now the games industry feels like it's big enough to where it doesn't need a place to legitimize itself, which was kind of the original idea. 3, like we'll get all the game developers in one place and release so much press that it gets coverage outside of the games industry. I still think that there's value in that, but more importantly, I actually think that the real value from E3 came in the fact that it was the developers meeting together and talking and interacting in a way that I think was helpful. I think there's when you kind of splinter off and you form your own factions and you live in your own world, there's something that's really lost on sharing of that culture and that exchange. And I think there's a Nintendo way of doing things and there's a Ubisoft way of doing things. And I think that the farther those things get apart from each other without talking, the worse it is. And so I really like events like GDC, which I talked about last show. But E3 was the big one. That was the one where everybody went because GDC has like an audience. It's smaller. It doesn't include all of the different kind of stakeholders, whereas E3 did. I also think that there's going to be less access for people like myself. And I know that might sound self-interested, but less access for games journalists, or in my case, critics, is actually hurts players because we're your peers and we're trying to cover the industry and get information on what's out there and what's happening, that sort of stuff. And without an E3 like event, you lose access to that, which means that players know less, which is
sorry for interrupting, Travis.
Yeah.
So this will surprise you. I agree with you, but I also disagree with you, right? I do think that there will be a loss in access.
Surprise me at all. Yeah.
That's no surprise at all.
There will be a loss in access, but I think Travis is probably the person that has to worry about that the least. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a loss in access to IGN. I think there's going to be a loss in access to Ames.
To people like me.
And Lord Cognito.
Yes. That is my point, and I think that that's worse. I think if there's fewer outlets that have access and there's fewer ways to get a leg in the industry, that's bad because I got my start in the industry through E3, and I did not work for IGN. I worked for a tiny outlet whose name you guys don't even know, and so I feel like it's just bad for the health of the industry in general for this stuff of happening. But that's separate, right? The main thing is the game developers, and I think that there's a huge loss there. I also think there still is a place for games to bring people in who aren't a part of it, and I think that having one big platform to do that all together is important, and you do not get that with Nintendo Direct. Say what you want about Nintendo Direct. It's great. They get to talk directly to their user, yada, yada, but it's about making your audience as small as possible and as specific as possible, and there's no way to grow
that
it.
Is the category for everybody's, right? Your
100%.
Nintendo Directs. Xbox, I don't think has arrived at a name for theirs because they just keep putting them into different festivals and things. But
But the point in doing that is that all you do is you're preaching to the choir with those events. They're
Yeah.
all people who already know about your event and they know enough about your company and care enough to actually show up and watch it. And I feel like E3 was the thing where people would accidentally find out about it because it was so big and it caused so much noise. Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up, Travis, because that I was going to bring that point up too, because it feels like obviously these companies, the Ubisofts, the Nintendos, et cetera, right? They have a wealth of analytics and data showing their ROI on potential to go to E3 versus not go to E3 and run their own show and what that looks like. And I have to wonder how that particular thing factors in, because that seems to get lost sometimes in analytics, is around we've got 10 million impressions here
on marketing.
Exactly. You're looking at number of impressions, you're looking at number of eyes, but you're not, sometimes it's lost between the relevancy of those eyes and the potential new gain versus what is expected gain. Like, for instance, to your point, a Starfield dedicated presentation is going to get people interested in Starfield and the Bethesda diehards, right? But someone who's just Joe Schmo who doesn't know anything about Starfield, right? If it's part of this overall E3 presentation, that was what was so fun about it, is that you would just have this huge blast of gaming from everywhere, and you would learn about all these new games and developers you hadn't seen before, and it was really exciting. Whereas Joe Schmo who doesn't know any of this is going to be like, I don't know what Starfield is. Why would I tune into that? You know, and it just, I don't know. Anecdotally, it feels like that they're not capturing that piece of it.
Yeah.
Oh, and I agree with that. And I think to Travis's earliest point, if the gaming industry thinks it's big enough to get coverage on its own, I think it's wrong. I think you still need to punch through the noise because they aren't movies yet.
They're not. And I think that they're probably looking at the analytics like you're saying, Ames, and they're saying, oh, look, every year it goes up, right? The number goes up. But it's a very uncreative way of looking at it. It's unambitious, right? Because they're just saying like, oh, you know, our numbers are healthy. We're fine with that. But
it's about growing the industry.
Growing the industry as a whole and getting more people through that threshold is huge. And I actually have friends. Another anecdotal kind of point here is I have a ton of friends that are super casual gamers. I'm just close to them personally. We don't talk about games a ton. When we do, they're always like, are you playing the new Call of Duty, right? Or they'll play it like 3 or 4 games a year. And the way that they learn about games is literally E3. Like that, they watch E3 and they go, oh, I saw that big trailer that played E3, Cyberpunk 2077. Have you heard of that game? Right? They're totally out of the.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I've been hearing about the game for 5 years. Of course, I know about Cyberpunk, right? but they'll bring that up, and that's how they learn about it. And I feel like they're never going to watch a live stream about Starfield, but if they saw it at E3, they'd be talking about it. And that I feel like there's a big segment of people that they're leaving behind, and so I'm okay with E3 dying in the end, but something needs to replace it. I think there needs to be one big gathering. Doesn't have to be in LA. Let's do it in San Francisco. But you know that we should.
What about non-California, Travis? Have we considered
Kansas City, baby?
But the problem is that all the developers are here, so
they are not all there. They're in Texas and North Carolina and a whole host of places. Where do you think Bethesda is?
Bethesda is obviously in Maryland, but I'm talking about most of them are here.
No, you said all of them. If you were talking about most of them, you would have said most of them.
Okay, Hogue. Lawyer me, all right?
We'll give you more than 50%. We'll give you a slim majority.
I was speaking colloquially, all right? All right? Let's calm down. We're among friends, all right?
We can all go to Redmond, Washington.
Yeah, but
I'm glad you guys
my point is if you're trying to do a show and you're trying to worry about people's budgets and the cost of shipping booths and all that stuff, it makes sense to do it in a California place. I would be okay with Texas.
Hey, Burf 90 says Vegas, and I'm down with that. Let's do
Vegas. Could also work. It's close enough to California, and also the space there for conventions. Yeah, I mean, it's super cheap.
That's the problem, Travis. You say about moving people, yes, but the actual space at the freaking LA Convention Center is ridiculous.
The cost. Yeah, the cost is insane.
Staying
that's
around
that's a good thing. That's a good thing about Vegas. Vegas is cheap because they have nothing but space. They have nothing else. They just have space.
Do you think you guys mentioned? You know, I mean, you think Hogue that they're gonna that's their ultimate goal is to get to that point where they're just as big as movies? Like, I guess I don't know how to quantify.
They want to be bigger.
I think the industry wants to punch through the noise. I mean, I think that's what E3 did for a number of years, was make it so that any big outlet, non-IGN, non-focused on video games, could just spend 5 days and just do their video game stuff, and then
I mean, E3 would be covered by major news outlets. Like, it was the game spectacle.
Right.
Yeah, and it was a spectacle, right? I mean, you saw all the ads on buildings and things; those would be covered by newspapers as well.
But it's not really for the Microsofts, the Ubisofts, the Sonys. I mean, Nintendo.
Well, your ROI goes down the bigger you already are. Yes.
Right. There's no reason. I mean, if you look at the movie industry, I mean, what do they have? Like Cannes and Sundance and the Toronto Film Festival. None of those. You're not going to see a John Wick 4 there, or Fast X.
John Wick's an interesting pull because John Wick famously got picked up at a festival.
Well, that one, yeah, but I'm talking like the bigger. Once you're here, it's really for the smaller developers. These kind of things, right?
Yeah, I think that's.
No, I actually think that's wrong, Dan. Because I think that even the big developers like a Starfield, their market could be even people who don't play games, or the people who play 1 or 2 games a year who would never know about they're not going to seek out the information. They're not going to go to a live stream. They're not going to. So I actually think it hurts the big developers maybe the most, because Assassin's Creed nobody would have cared about that game without E3 or without big conventions, because it's such a niche type of game. And I think that it allowed it to become like a household name and now have its own movie and all that other stuff because of its ability to break through the niche that still is video games.
But I think John Wick is a perfect pull because it's so damn tiny in that first iteration and becomes John Wick 4. Right? I mean, like, that's what you're looking for from shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get that stuff. I mean, they're still doing it, right? I mean, you still have the Xbox show or Ubisoft event, or the
Microsoft
EA event.
closest to keeping up with doing it.
Right.
The other events are much more minor. And if you want to tag a death knell on E3, Sony leaving is probably it.
Yeah, it was the moment.
100%.
Yeah, it was the moment.
But Microsoft has been really good at bringing in those smaller developers and showcasing them at their show.
The other thing. Sorry, Dan. Sorry.
No, you just kind of lose that in person talking with the the devs that don't normally get that kind of.
Well, and when E3 I think really took a value reduction for me was when they moved to the all videos YouTube channel playlist kind of approach, rather than having more people doing demos and talking to developers and the whys of why they decided to make this game this way. Like that loses value because I can go watch video game trailers any day of the week now.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the point that we were making is we collectively, by the way, all of us, is that for someone like me who runs a smaller outlet, right? And Travis's point is that the coverage that you get, to your point, you can watch trailers any day. That's easy, right? The understanding devs' motivation for making a game, or the design methodologies behind it, or what the game really is supposed to be, or even spotlighting. There's so many games. I was just applauding the Lords for covering PAX East. There's so many games nowadays, right? There's simply not enough time or resources to cover them all. But for smaller outlets like Season Gaming and others, being able to go to E3, sit down with developers, talk to them, and provide coverage on their game was not only meaningful for us, it was meaningful for them, because they don't break through the noise, right? You're not going to see a headline about a minor game unless for some reason it's gotten crazy on Twitch or something else, right? You just don't see the coverage of that. And that was something that, combined with the IGNs and the GameSpots of the world and having their big booths at IGN and their big presentations and shows, there were a whole bunch of little outlets like us who got to go meet other people from other outlets and work and meet developers and publishers. And you lose that. No matter what anyone says, to Travis's point about people kind of celebrating the death of E3 and saying, oh, I can just watch that online, you're losing an element you may not even realize that you're losing. By just kind of deferring it to say, oh, I can just watch it online. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Well, there was a period of time when E3 was as big as it got before YouTube and videos got as big as they were, where people were selling DVDs of like show floor interviews and things.
Yes.
E3 that I had purchased, that I adored. Like, I remember watching a Shadow of the Colossus show floor interview about like what they were aimed at and why they did this and this and this. And like, that's stuff that I love. I'm not saying that's everybody, but that got lost at E3. E3 became just trailer after trailer after trailer after trailer.
Yep,
it did. Yeah,
well, it did in the public forum. The people actually attending it always had more substance, and I think that's one of the things that's for sure going to be lost. And yeah, I mean, there's a million things that I dislike about E3 going, but I will say this: I think that this failure and PlayStation and Microsoft and all the people, Ubisoft backing out at the last minute, I think it's really them saying no to this version of a big event. I don't think it's them saying no to the idea at all. I think it's them saying, ESA, we don't have confidence in you. I think it's them saying this event doesn't seem to be well thought out, or I don't believe it's going to be executed well. And I think the final thing is them saying, we're scared still about in-person events and how effective they can be at this point in time. A lot of people who maybe live in Kansas or Michigan forget that people in California and a lot of the West Coast people are still really weirdly, in my opinion, scared about COVID and in-person events, even after all this time and 5 vaccination laters and all that stuff. So I think it's just a mix of things, but I think it's really just a rejection of this specific version of this event and E3 and the ESA. And I don't think it means we're done with conventions. We're done with big in-person events. I don't think so.
No, the fact that they were signed up initially suggests that they see the value in it, but not the value in this. I agree with that, Travis. And we did see the leak of the original kind of ESA digital cross plan from a couple of years ago that never came to fruition. I'm sure it got polished up for 2023. But we do know that they were making some choices that I would have been looking at askance from afar if I were a developer.
Yep.
Back a couple of years ago.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
I thought that their plan for in-person coverage was solid. I know we talked about that, Travis, right? They were going to have 2 full days of media access, right? And then they were going to have 2 full days of fan access. And I think that's the right way to do it. However it works out, it just seems like whatever their plan was for either cost or accommodating these big publishers in person was obviously not very good, and how they plan to kind of share that. So, yeah,
it wouldn't
I guess
surprise me if Gamescom just took over.
Gamescom,
it would surprise me a little bit, Hogue, because Gamescom is really almost a completely different purpose. That's like a fan event first,
But that's where you're getting all the news items right now. I mean, it's not going to be Tokyo.
No, it's not. I mean, I hope it'll be something different, but I would be surprised if it was Gamescom, honestly. One, because it's a European thing, and booth. I mean, that kind of, I feel like you need one in the United States for our industry anyway.
Obviously, selfishly, I'd love it to be in the United States, but
yeah, because I just think there's too many games companies that are in the United States. Right, it's a pretty big market, and then having them all to have to go to Germany for a week and get their booths out there. I mean, there's a lot of companies that can't attend Gamescom because
that's what I was just going to say.
Cost.
The issue with Gamescom is the only publishers we see there are the big ones that can afford to do it, and that's purely because Gamescom's the biggest in terms of attendance. It's the biggest show in the world, right? You have over 300,000 people that go. I believe that's the right number in recent years. So the Xboxes of the world show up because they're getting what they believe is going back to the whole eyes conversation. So we have a good comment here basically relating to what we talked to a super chat. I'll just read it, Dan. From friend Ray, laugh out loud, $20 super chat. He says, to add to your point, E3 was how I learned about new games coming out. I don't care to keep track of game releases outside of maybe 1 or 2 a year. I only find out about game releases now through friends, which is limiting at best, which is exactly what we were talking about. So this adds to our anecdotal argument anyway.
Well, I follow the industry, and I still am looking up IGN and GameSpot articles about what games are coming out this month. I mean, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. It's tough to keep track of it all, too, if you don't. Yeah. You have to watch 9 different streams and all that. Yeah.
Well, that was what we talked about in 2020, right? When the company said we're going to do different streams, and Jeff came out and said we're going to do Summer Game Fest, which is a collection of various shows, right? He posted like this schedule, and it was like, you want me to watch like 18 different streams over 3 weeks, some of which are like 20 minutes, some are an hour. It's a disaster trying to keep track of that. E3 was great. It was 3 days, right?
And to me, the person on the outside, Summer Games Fest is just that opening show.
Yes, agreed. Me too. Yeah, Ben Ray, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess we've kind of touched on it all. I hope that we see. At this point, I don't have any confidence in the ESA either. I'm very questionable of what Jeff is doing. I think Summer Game Fest on June 8th, with the show itself will be what it is. We know what Jeff puts on in terms of a show now, but I am very curious why trailers with ads. Yeah. But I don't know why he would say there's going to be an in-person event when they haven't talked about it at all. I don't know what comes next, I guess is what I'm saying.
My problem with Summer Game Fest is it lacks substance. It very much like the Game Awards.
I just said it's just the opening show, but it isn't to me because he runs the 2 shows on the same day. So I tend to love the Day of the Devs thing that they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right after that, because that's exactly what I'm looking for. It's people talking about why they made this game and what choices they made, and he's a little bit more in depthful than just a trailer usually. But that's what I like, and I think that's led by Double Fine.
Yep,
it is. Yes. I love events like that. Now, of course, that may be unique to us. I don't think the people we're talking about as the broad casual gamers are as interested in that, right? But I think that it does serve a good purpose for people like us. But Ubisoft has, the interesting other thing besides Summer Game Fest on June 8th is Ubisoft has announced they're going to do an event sometime in that time frame of E3, right, when they pulled out. Xbox is still going on June 11th. They formalized this week that they're doing their showcase and Starfield event on June 11th. And
is that the Microsoft Theater? Is that the same
yeah,
place
because from what I know, they're probably still going to host people like myself. So
you going?
I might still come out, depending on. I'm not going to go to LA just for Xbox's conference, right? But if there's
casual,
but if there's if there's other things going on, and that's what I'm saying, because there's EA Play, remember, is usually that weekend as well, which is in Hollywood, about 20 minutes away or so. So there's it's weird that we're at April and there's no solidified plans really of what's happening other than knowing there's a showcase on the 8th and an Xbox showcase on the 11th. That's it.
It means nothing's happening.
Ains is only going to commit if it doesn't interrupt his Diablo 4 time.
Yeah. This is 100% accurate.
Oh, right, because it's going to be right after that. God, I'm going to be busy. I don't think I'm going to go.
4 and Final Fantasy 16. It's a month.
And Street Fighter 6.
Boy.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll be done with it? Do you think we'll be done with Diablo 4 before the game comes out?
Depends when they send out the review codes. I'm hoping that's why I'm hoping we get them in late May, because
I hope Diablo is a May game for me. I hope it's mid-May. That'd be great.
Agree. Because I won't be done with that game for years, but in terms of the review, I can get it done by release if they get it to us mid-May. We'll see.
I'll just be playing it when it's released to the population.
Yeah. No, hey, not if you play your cards right, buddy.
All right, guys. So we had a couple other things. We'll touch on. Why don't we touch on Zelda next week? Unless you guys want to do that right now. We'll save Zelda for next week. We'll touch on PSVR2 next week as well. We do have one more super chat, which I wanted to close on because it's for you, Travis, about reviewing games. We missed it earlier. I already apologized. From Claude Simeon. And he says, I got it, Dan. He says, Travis, ever worry about losing touch with regular gamers the way TV movie critics do? Need more esoteric stuff, and audience score differs from critic score.
This is where I say don't worry about it because it's already happened.
Yeah, right.
I think, didn't we talk about this in our discussion, Travis? I think we did. The reason I don't worry about this, so this is a great question and something certainly I think about all the time about like how useful is your review? Because if your review is intended for the average gamer, then the goal would be to speak in their language and hopefully have a similar frames of reference as them. And so the reason I don't worry about this personally is because I am just a regular gamer. I don't have any like special qualifications. I'm not like a former game dev who like knows about stuff. I'm not like a artist or some crazy person who's like thinking about all these different. To me, it's very simple. It's like, is the game fun? Did I have time with it? Did I feel like my time was respected? The only areas in which my goal is not to be in line with like the average gamer is in kind of the logical structure of writing reviews, which is like most gamers think about, well, how much did the game cost me versus how fun is it? Like that's like a very common thing, but I remove that idea of cost because everybody has their own value when it comes to money, and B, how much something costs also doesn't impact the quality of the game. They're completely unrelated items, right? And so there's certain areas where the intention is to kind of remove
stuff that isn't focused on the qualitative measurement of a game, and that sometimes makes me differ a little bit from the average player who might say, oh, but it was only $10 and I thought it was good for that price, and I don't look at it that way. So there's certain areas where I think it's good to be different from the audience, but by and large, I don't worry about it because I play lots of games and I live in this world. It's why I don't know anything about sports or the Negro League or whatever you guys were talking about earlier, because I just focus on video games. And so you don't have to worry about losing touch with the gamer if you just continue to play games and brush up and immerse yourself in the industry. So not something I really worry about too much.
Go. I made that face because the Negro Leagues is more history than sports, but I see where you're going.
I mean, it's a very specific part of history that's related to sports. Like, it's not like I don't know about segregation. I just don't know about baseball. So
yes.
I know who Jackie Robinson is. All right. Was he? I don't know.
Well,
he was not. He was integrated, right? Yeah. So
well,
but he started in the Negro Leagues.
Oh, he did. Okay, great. There you go. So
I was going to say that's the importance of Jackie Robinson is that barrier was broken. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know that part. I just don't know about the league before.
All right. Thank you, Claude Simeon. Appreciate that. Sorry for getting to it later, but I think that worked out better anyway. We got one other late super chat just came in. Dan, you want to hit this one up?
Yeah. RDX son of a Fett. Was that Canadian? $13.99?
Canadian, yep.
All right. Should Sony be scared of I don't know what that's.
That's the Japanese FTC.
Oh, the Japanese FTC investigating into their high-end console 98% market share.
No, take this one away.
Yeah.
No, and we didn't talk about the merger at all today. I was stoked about that. No, they shouldn't be scared of it. Honestly, this is grandstanding from both sides during a trade negotiation, and nobody realistically looks at the video game market in Japan and thinks Sony has a 98% market share.
Yeah.
It's
a bullshit metric.
That is, in fact.
This is a bullshit
yes,
metric.
it very. I love the 98%. Forget about Nintendo, but you own 98%. Like,
why don't you take Nintendo out? Yeah.
Yeah, remove Nintendo from the Japanese video game market and you have a different picture. Who would have figured? So
no, I don't think they should be worried.
Yeah.
And that's not for protectionism. I just don't think that anybody really takes kind of those negotiating stances seriously.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not worried. So
Dan's not worried.
Don't worry.
Dan's not worried. You should
be like Dan.
That's our motto here.
That's right. We're good.
Yeah, I think I think the commenters asking, did they paint themselves into a corner by saying Nintendo doesn't count as an actual game competitor, which I would say maybe, but I don't think anybody actually looks at that argument and goes, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. That's a valid way to think of it.
Yeah, no, it's just as stupid one way and the other. But I did talk about this week on Destin's channel, Destin, co-worker of Travis, about Sony and whether they painted themselves in a corner and exactly what's happening with the merger. So if you are interested in that, you can check out that video on his channel.
Yeah,
I haven't talked to him in a while.
I saw that being a common theme this week was people thinking that Sony, exactly what you said, backed themselves into a corner by painting this picture. And yeah, always good to have your information, Hogue.
How is Destin? He's been on paternity leave, so I haven't talked to him in hell long.
He seems good. He texted me and he checked in on me after my stroke. So, I mean,
nice.
We talk a fair amount offline.
Yeah.
Good. All right, boys. I think that's going to wrap us up for today. Just a couple things to shout out on my side. Multiple game reviews up, including Resident Evil 4 from Zach, who is our kind of like horror fanatic over at SG. We've got other ones coming up, including a game called Dredge as well, which is an early access game, I believe, that one of our contributors has been playing, Eric. And then, of course, Romancevania. I'll be continuing those streams, so you can find me Porsche Power, just like you see me in the chat here on Twitter. I'm the same on Twitch, so you can find part 1 of that from last night, and we'll do part 2. Maybe we'll do like 1 episode a week. That's what I'll try to do. Maybe that's
Porsche Power. Wait, is your handle a car reference?
It is.
I've never been able to make heads or tails out of your random assortment of letters.
Yeah, most people. I've actually had people on Xbox Live call me Porsche Shopper, and I'm like, no, I'm not a Porsche Shopper. It's Porsche Power because when I was young, I had a very fast and powerful Porsche that I raced, and it just became a thing like 25 years ago, and it has stuck.
1%er.
No, it wasn't. No.
Looking down on all of us poor people.
Yeah,
It's okay.
right. No, it was not like a Bad Boys 911 Turbo. That's not the kind of car I was in. No. But anyway, yeah, that's what it is. So check me out there. And then I mentioned a couple weeks ago I was interviewing a developer at Respawn. Sadly, had to delay that. He had a family emergency come up, so we pushed that back a little bit. We'll let people know when that's going to go live. That will go live for Season Gaming channel members early, as soon as I can. I'm very excited to have that. Sorry?
We got some Jedi coming out from them soon, right?
Yes, yeah. So he works on Apex.
Okay.
But yeah, very interested. April's a great game too. We've got Jedi, we've got Dead Island 2. I'm very pumped for. I'm telling you, excited about that game. We've got golf in 2 days. Yeah, good month. All right,
Dead
boys.
Island
Hogue.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I said Dead Island is finally coming out.
I know.
What?
10 years?
I'm telling you, all the previews of it have been excellent. I'm so excited. I hope
Everyone
I'm
I
not
know who's
disappointed.
played it
We'll see.
says that it's great. So
I'm telling you,
Interesting.
it looks great.
Yeah.
By the way, we had a late super sticker come in. 99 pence. That's pence. 99 pence. Super sticker from Cram1. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I thought there was another one. Maybe not.
Well, the member comments don't pop up for us. Yeah, so
mustache or something. Okay, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to close this poll. So it seems overwhelmingly that people prefer third-person perspective for Resident Evil over first-person. 107 votes over on the Season Gaming side. 72% want third-person Resident Evil. So I think that's fair. All right, Hogue, thanks for swinging on today. You stayed with us almost the entire show. Appreciate you. Hope you said things are going well. I'm very glad to hear it. Anything you would like to shout out today, sir?
So as I mentioned, I do like that video that I did with Destin earlier this week. You can check that out. And I know people were asking in my chat, where is that channel? I actually don't know what his is called. I just have it on my subscription. So it's Destin, like you're going to spell Destiny, but you drop the Y off.
Look him up on Twitter. His links are on Twitter. Yeah.
And interestingly, he hosted a Destiny show for years with me, Fireteam Chat, and his.
I thought his name was a handle for the longest time, Travis.
Yeah, he's just Canadian. He's just a weird guy with a weird name.
I honestly thought he was advertising his Destiny show for the longest time.
It's not a weird name. He's just Canadian. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
Says
over on my channel, I have done continuing merger videos. So you can check those out in Virtual Legality. I haven't done live shows yet. Those have not returned because, frankly, I can't go as long as I used to be able to go. So even
That's
now,
what she said.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Nice. But that's here at 2.5 hours on this one. I can tell you my left arm has already given up the ghost. Yeah, you can check out the videos on my channel, and you can come for Travis just unable to keep his dirty mind out of the gutter. Otherwise, I'm around.
Cool.
Thanks, Hogue. Travis.
Guys, I have so much to talk about this week. So all of my GDC coverage is up. So you can see Crash Team Rumble. You can see Endless Dungeon, a couple other stuff I worked on. And then also my IGN First for Remnant 2 is completely done. I can talk about almost everything I saw at Gunfire
How
Games.
rad is it?
It is very rad. It's very cool. I'm super excited for this game. And if anybody wants to talk about it, I can mostly talk about most things. And my final preview, or my first preview of the game, is up in IGN exclusive. So you can see that on IGN.com. And then also my second review in progress for Diablo 4 went up this week. So we did a weekend 1 review in progress and a weekend 2 review in progress.
You guys are just trying to get clicks for fun. It was the same content. Come on.
Well, no. There's
Necromancer is overpowered. I want to see a whole paragraph.
Exactly. There's actually 2 or 3 paragraphs about the Necromancer. So you can see my video on that on YouTube, and then IGN.com's original review in progress of Diablo 4 has now been updated with my new impressions of weekend number 2. So IGN. I've got lots of Diablo stuff to talk about. Yeah. IGN. How dare they cover games?
Review in progress of a beta.
Yeah, that's what
Necromancer
that's
is
what the review in
overpowered.
progress
I'm gonna
part
stand by
means.
this.
It's in
I got some
progress.
balancing to do with Necromancer.
So, for those of you who are like Ains and don't understand reviews in progress, let me tell you about them. The point of a review in progress is to give you an ongoing kind of journal of how we're thinking about the game and how it's shaping up. And the reason we do one
what game?
for the reason we do one for what the reason we do one for Diablo 4 specifically is because at least with the beta, you are most likely going to see 98% the same content for Act 1. Like that part of their game is very clearly done, and so it's worth talking about from a review perspective, since at this point in time, if you think that they're going to drastically change certain aspects of the game, you probably don't know a lot about game development. There's a lot that's baked in and is kind of finalized, so there's probably going to be patches and changes to the Necromancer balancing would be my guess as line item
change
1
some
to get
numbers.
changed. But they're not going to like make the dungeons have more diversity, which was a complaint that I had about the beta, right? That's probably just baked in there. And so this is Act 1 of 5 or 6. If Diablo history is to tell us anything about how long it's there.
Supposedly 5 in this one.
Yeah, supposedly 5. Okay, so there's the part 1 of 5, and so it's worth talking about from a review perspective. But obviously, no score, no final impressions. Things are subject to change. Even between the first and second weekend, I changed my opinions about some stuff. So this is why it's a review in progress. We're figuring things out and evolving as we continue to play the game. And I put a ton of time into Diablo 4, and I'm excited to do it in May, hopefully, or June if I have to. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that game. But yeah, lots of content from me this week. So go and look at all that stuff if you care. And if you don't, tell your enemies to go and look at that stuff. That'll show them.
That's what I say. Downvotes still count. Hit whatever button you like.
Yeah, a hate click is still a click, right?
All right, awesome.
I'm very happy that the dungeons were not more diverse. I liked that they were in the real world, so to speak. I went back to play Diablo 3, which I've been enjoying enough, but like it's wildly different in verisimilitude.
Or are you talking about how they're randomly generated and so they seem like they're out of nowhere when you go into the dungeon? Because
no, I'm talking about. I assumed you were complaining about diversity in terms of, set dressing and the way it looked. I haven't read your preview of Diablo 4. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
I think it's really just the overall approach.
Yeah, the format, like you'll see like the same hallways and then you fight like the same bosses in multiple dungeons, and it's sort of like, all right, that's kind of odd. The same exact guy. So it's just more diversity of the dungeon delving experience. It sucks to go into a dungeon and feel like, oh, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen in this one.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Chat, you've been awesome today as always. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for supporting both channels.
We'll get the left thumb up here. We can do it.
There you go.
Nice. How much effort did that cost? You gonna have to take a nap now?
Generally speaking, when I estimate it for my therapist, I would say that it's about 3 times as hard to move my left arm.
Wow. Yeah, man.
That's pretty good.
Wow. All right. That'll wrap us up for today. Thank you, everyone, for the support, as always. We will see you next Sunday, of course. Until then, keep being awesome. Play some good games. Check our other stuff out. Check out Hoeg's content. And we will see you next week. Peace.
See you,
everybody.